Welcome to the Limited Lorecast, where we talk about Lorcana in its limited formats of sealed and draft. I'm your host, Jake, and I'm here with my co-host, Anthony. Anthony, how are you doing today?
Doing great. Yep. Really happy to be here. Really happy to be talking about the new set. I'm glad all the cards are out. Yeah, it's gonna be a fun episode today.
Yeah, super excited. I mean, they finally came out with the cards. We are week of the upcoming Chapter 4 release, Ursula's Return. And, honestly, it's crunch time. It's time for us to get this video done, edit it like crazy, and send it out to the world. And hopefully we can give some general tips and advice for your release events. So super excited. And here we go. Let's get into it. Let's start off with some general information. The set comes out with 204 cards, at least in the main set. There are some cards that are in the co-op Ursula thing that go above 204, but I don't think we're going to see any of those in the booster packs, so you don't have to worry about those. There are 72 common cards, 54 uncommon cards, 48 rares, 18 super rares, and 12 legendary cards. Anthony, can you describe how does this data help you?
Yeah, so really what's most important for me is knowing like the number of commons and uncommons, because like when you're building your draft decks or your sealed decks, like this is what your what your deck is going to consist of, like commons and uncommons. So when you're drafting, like knowing how many of each like commons there are and that you have to choose from, it's very important, especially like how many like 2-drops there are, like 2-3s, like stuff like that to consider. It's just very helpful when drafting. So that's why I like to know like all of these numbers in the beginning.
Nice. So when you're opening a booster pack, you can expect 6 common cards, 3 uncommon cards, and then 2 cards that range from rare, super rare, or legendary cards. And then the final card could be a foil of any rarity, and that includes enchanted cards. So just something to keep in mind while doing your limited events. On top of that, there are 148 characters in this set, 26 action cards that include songs, 18 items, and 12 locations. And this sort of graph lets us know what the curve is as far as the costs of each character. So a lot of 3s, a lot of 4s, kind of showing most of our decks would likely follow a similar curve. Not too many 7, 8, and 9 cost characters.
Yeah, and so like I think it's very important to know like the amount of character cards within each set too, because like your decks, like if you want to play like a good game, you want to have a good amount of characters. And like when you're drafting, if you know that there's a lot of 3 cards in the set, you'll feel fine taking a 2-drop or a 4-drop or a 5. Also knowing that there's only like a couple 7s, some 8, and some 9s. That's very important to consider, at least for the curve.
Yeah, that's definitely something that I ran into in our previous games, where we'd be drafting our deck together, and then there was this very important 3-cost character. Let's call him Kit, Cloud Kicker, that bounces, characters, that happened in the previous set. And, it was sort of a decision between that or Nani, the 5-cost bodyguard. So just understanding that, the odds of me running into this Nani is kind of low compared to Kit. And even if I pass on Kit, there are other 3-cost characters that have value, maybe not the same value, but could arguably fit in my deck either way. So just knowing that there's a lot of 3s and a lot of 4s, you can at times pass. So it's very situational, but it's good to know. So Anthony, I'll let you take the lead on bread, if you could describe it to everyone.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so bread actually is a term that comes from Magic. It stands for bombs, removals, evasive, aggro, and duds. And it's definitely like when you're picking cards in terms of drafting, it's like normally kind of the order of how you want to choose like your cards. So normally this type of concept is something we can use in Lorcana. So bombs being like your really strong creatures that like come in and give -2 strength to all other creatures, stuff like that. Removals are cards that deal damage or like banish a character. So these are very important cards that you normally want, as well as evasive. And in this case, in evasive includes not only creatures with evasive, but creatures with like bodyguard or creatures with ward. Like these are things to consider. And aggro is like creatures that can quest for like 2 or more. Creatures that can like um, sometimes get like some ability to gain some additional lore or give other creatures lore. And then we have duds, which are like cards that you are pretty much unplayable. You almost never want to put in your deck. Maybe sometimes they'll make like the 40th card cut to put in because you have to, but normally it's like not something you want to play. And bread is really just like one of the ways to analyze cards, and it's like a very intro way for anybody kind of getting into drafting or sealed of like, hey, this is the concept I can use. But there's also like a couple other different ways that we can use to analyze cards, which we will talk about in the future. And I think actually on the next slide we're going to talk about quadrant theory.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, please. Please explain what is quadrant theory?
So if we can think of bread as like the initial, kind of like beginner's guide for anyone drafting, quadrant theory is kind of like the upgraded version of like when you are looking at a pile of cards in front of you and deciding how to choose one over the other. For every card, we analyze it based on like 4 different quadrants. On the top left is the developing quadrant, which is like, how does this card help me like play on curve? Is it like a low cost card that I can play on turn 1, turn 2, turn 3? Does it affect the board when I play it? So like that's how you would consider that card. You would also consider that card, does it help you when you're behind? So like let's say the opponent has a bigger board than you, has a lot more creatures than you. When I play this card, if it kills another creature, like then that's a great card that will help you when you're behind, right? Another is, how does this card help you when you're ahead? Like, does it also kill another creature or help like allow you to play more creatures? Stuff like that. And then one of the most important is like, how does this card help you when you're at a board stall where like neither one of you can quest because all your creatures kind of trade, or like the first person you quest and the other person gets the advantage. Like, how does this card help you? And normally cards that like draw you cards will help you out when you're at a stall or at parity. And pretty much for every single card, we want to kind of analyze like, where does it fall within these 4 quadrants, and like how does it help my deck? Yeah, and like this is like I'd say like the level 2 upgrade of bread. And there's also like some other things that over time people have considered like synergy. For example, like in certain sets, like Lorcana, like we're gonna see later, like singers and like singing together, like does this card follow the synergy of the set? And those are something we would consider into the quadrant theory. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks so much for that.
Analysis. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for going into that. This is absolutely new to me. I look forward to our future videos, maybe even the tier list where we go more in depth of the quadrant theory and synergies. And I do have a strong feeling this chapter has a lot of synergies to work with. So
yeah, I'm definitely very hopeful for that, and I can't wait to play it out and try it out.
Definitely. All right, so another thing we're going to want to consider is the curve of your deck. As you start choosing cards to build the deck with, we want to make sure there's a good curve between 4 to 6 1 costs, 6 to 8 2 costs. And honestly, this is kind of just a guideline that we grabbed from Frank Karsten. Shout out to Frank again. As sort of like the basis of it. But it's likely that your curve will adjust on almost all sets. It'll be relatively the same, but you might be leaning towards an aggro style deck, so maybe you have more 2s and 3s rather than 4s and 5s. Or if you're more worried about the late game, you might have heavier on the 4s and 3s rather. Another thing we want to consider, unlike other games, is your how many non-inkable cards there are in your deck, because you don't want to be ink blocked. But they've introduced a new item this set which might help with that. So
Yeah, and curve is very important because like, you know, if you fill your deck with like all of the 4, 5s, and 6, and you're only picking those cards, then you know, turn 1, 2, 3, you're probably not doing anything. You're going to spend time inking those high cost cards, and while the opponent is going to be playing a card every turn, questing every turn, and just getting that like that advantage where like you have to play a little bit more risky. So it's very important to have like a good curve in Lorcana and probably any trading card game.
yeah, I think for the most part you're really trying to develop the board, and maintain board presence. I don't know if there will be a set where you can win without board presence. I mean, the last chapter when they introduced locations, that's kind of the first time where we kind of felt like it could be possible. But I think the locations in this set, there are less of them that generate that passive lore without some sort of requirements or synergy. So we'll see how the curve will pan out for this set. Maybe we'll readjust these numbers after a couple weeks and sort of go from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
One other thing to consider, I don't expect anyone to memorize this entire chart. That would be insane. But I just started plugging some numbers through the hypergeometric distribution probability calculator. You know, that old gem. To run some numbers to sort of give you an idea of, you know, understanding the odds, certainly in the limited format. So what this chart does, it sort of gives you an idea of what to expect on your opening hand. If you're looking for like a specific card, like one card, and you plan to get that card, you just didn't get it in your first hand, and you tried to mulligan for it. If you decide to mulligan 7 cards, you have a 21% chance of finding that one copy of the card. Or if you're trying to mulligan 6 cards, then there's 18%, and so on and so forth. Essentially, it's this sort of complicated chart to just understand what your first mulligan would be. On the other end of the spectrum, if you had 4 copies of a card, and you plan to mulligan all 7 cards, you have a 63% chance of pulling at least one of those cards. And in contrast, if you're mulliganing 2 cards and you have 4 copies, that's a 23% chance.
I guess I want to add to that. So one of the reasons why I think that knowing these odds are very important is because let's say you pull like the Ursula 7 drop from this set that has a shift cost of 5, right? Therefore, you need another Ursula, ideally, you know, to play before. So, you know, if you manage to get 3 or 4 copies of the other Ursula in your deck, then you'll know that, let's say in your opening hand you have a very big one in your hand. If you were to mulligan the other 6 cards, you have a 57% chance of drawing the other smaller Ursula that you would need. And knowing small stuff like this, with the odds, it can help you just make a little bit better decisions in terms of like, you know, how many cards of each do you want? Like that can you can use to like kind of get out these like bigger characters that have like a shift cost, and that's kind of why I would use these numbers for.
Yeah. And this particular chapter has a lot of heroes and some hero synergy, so definitely take this into consideration, understand the odds, and in a way, when you're playing this game, it kind of comes down to the odds. So for today, we're going to do a quick card review on just, not all the cards, not today. We're going to be reviewing cards that we think are bombs, cards that have removal. We're going to be discussing what singers will be in this chapter, along with that sort of sing together mechanic. We're going to review what items are there, because I believe that there are some significant items that will sort of change the pace of the game. We're going to review card draw, because card draw is absolutely essential. We're going to review the locations, because there are some interesting interactions this time around. And sleepers are just cards that I think, you know, you might want to consider when you're drafting, because they might sneak up on you, and you know, it's just cards I think are sleepers. So let's get into it. All right, so the first card we're going to review is 7 costs Ursula It's Inkable Sea Witch Queen. It's a 4/7 body, quests for 3 lore, and it's a shift 5, so you may pay 5 ink to play on top of one of your characters named Ursula. Whenever this character quests, exert chosen character, and other characters can't exert to sing songs. This is a legendary card, and I think this may be the bomb of the entire chapter.
Yeah, and I like this card a lot. I definitely think it's definitely very thick, right, in terms of its defensive stats. It quests for 3. It is a little on the expensive side though, right, with 7. But there are 2 other Ursulas in the set that I would really like to play. The 2 ink 1/4, and then the 2 ink that's the Maid Sea Witch, right? The 1/3 that gets Challenger +2. Those are 2 Ursulas I would definitely want to play in my deck, and that increases the odds of me playing this Ursula on turn 5, which is also why I like this card. I do think it is a bomb. Definitely also probably going to be a top pick for me, just because of that, just because of those 2 other Ursulas increasing the odds of me playing this on turn 5 as opposed to having to get to 7 ink. And I don't know how I feel about that Ursula Eric's Bride yet.
Yeah, that's yet to be seen, especially since the Ursula Eric's Bride is a 4-cost uninkable 2/4 body, quests for 2. You can shift it by discarding a song card, which we're probably not going to do in limited games. And whenever this character quests, chosen opponent reveals their hand and discards a non-character card of your choice. So for one, it's uninkable. The odds of you shifting that is kind of iffy because you have to have a song to discard. And on top of that, I mean, it's kind of like a small thing. Like if you quest and it so happens that your opponent has a non-character card that you can discard, that's great. But also knowing your opponent's hand isn't terrible. So
that's true. That's a very good point.
But going back to the shift mechanic, if it's hard to pass up Ursula Sea Queen. I know it's a 7 cost, but it's inkable. Quests for 3. I remember being able to play some 7s in the previous set. When you think about it, some Louis there.
Always scary with that card drop.
I know, right? But this Ursula, the other 2 Ursulas that are 2 costs, they have great value. It's a 1/4 singer 4. That's at least maybe singing 1 song. Hopefully you're able to pair it with a song. And the Ursula, the Mad Sea Witch, the 1/3, but so it's like a 3/3 when it challenges, is like the Prince Eric from previous sets. So that's a common card and an uncommon card. I definitely see a lot of value with this bomb. So for me, I'm definitely grabbing this card immediately. I don't see any other scenario where you wouldn't want this card. So, all right, let's talk about Mulan. It's a 6-cost inkable legendary card, Mulan Elite Archer. It's a 2/6 body, quests for 2, can shift 5. When you play this character, if you used shift to play her, she gets +3 this turn. And then for a triple shot, her ability, during your turn, whenever this character deals damage to another character in a challenge, deal the same damage to up to 2 other chosen characters. So to me, this character has the potential to board wipe. As far as shift Mulans, there is 2 other Mulans in the set. There's a 1 cost and a 2 cost, so they're pretty cheap. It's a common and uncommon. There's just a lot of potential here. I know 2 damage on itself doesn't seem like a lot, but there are characters in the set that have support that can add additional sort of challenging power to be able to do that extra damage to other characters. So I think this card's not bad. I'm not too crazy about the other Mulans though.
Yeah, and actually, so I know they added the another Mulan, right? There's the Mulan, the 4 ink for 3/6, and we can also shift onto this.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah. So in that Mulan, I think we would all want to play.
That's true. That's a 4-cost inkable card. 3/6 body quest for 1. It's a vanilla card, but that's 6 is a lot of willpower. So I can see shifting into that, or but like when looking at Mulan Injured Soldier, it says this character enters play with 2 damage on it. Maybe the idea is to play this Mulan and then heal it up. That's my guess. That's my guess for the synergy.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Like, then that, I mean, it would be a great 1-mana 2/3. It also just trades into other 1 ink cost cards, right? Because a lot of them are 2/1s or 3/1s. So even though it does come in with 2 damage, it's not the end of the world there. And it does have the option to synergize.
True.
I'm also not a huge fan of it, but there's potential there depending on the other cards of your deck, right? Depending on the synergy. And to be honest, though, even if there was none and I just had to play this Mulan on turn 6, I would be happy enough with that. And I didn't even consider the fact that support, like you said, like that's amazing, right? You support this Mulan, and then it just hits for like a ton, right? Like let's say you give it support 1, yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely. And at its minimum, though, where it does 6 damage spread across, or two damage, right, spread across 3 or 6 damage spread across 3 different creatures, right? Which is amazing, right?
Right.
So, like, that's just the floor of it, which is awesome.
Yeah, so definitely a bomb, definitely something to consider. Even if I didn't have the other Mulans to shift into, this is a scary card. If I saw that on my opponent's side, I would be scared. So
yeah.
That's a good way to consider. If you're not sure what a bomb is, imagine playing against it, and if you're scared of that, that may be a bomb.
Yeah, very good point. The turns it comes out, you're like,
oh shit. All right, so next card, it's a Piglet, Sturdy Swordsman. It is a 5-cost uninkable card, legendary. 3/6 body, quest for 3. It has resist 1, and not so small anymore. While you have no cards in your hand, this character can challenge ready characters. So I put this as a bomb because I feel like 5 cost isn't that bad. I think on average, in limited, you'd get to at least 5 ink. It quests for 3. It has resist 1. 3/5 body is not bad. Not crazy swinging, but I think surviving for a while. But I think in limited, in a lot of games, you get to a point where you don't have much card draw. So I think it's often you might find yourself without cards, meaning this card will get value and you'll be able to swing into characters and sort of change any sort of stall or stagnant gameplay. Because, in limited, there always gets a point where everyone's kind of just at a standoff and you're waiting for something to happen. And this card, changes that. So that's why I think this is a pretty good bomb.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. Like, it's a 3/5 body, and it gives you the option, right? Because it can like quest for 3, or it can attack their characters with resist, which is really, really good. And like the fact that it can challenge ready characters, that's amazing to me. I guess the only drawback is it's uninkable, right? So like you have to play turn 5, but still you're gonna always want to play this turn 5 most likely, right? Just because it's such a good card, and it can do so many things for you. So.
Definitely. All right. So we have Donald Duck, Buccaneer. It's a 4-cost inkable legendary card. It's 3/4 body, quests for 1, and its ability is Boarding Party. During your turn, whenever this character banishes a character in a challenge, your other characters get +1 lore this turn. So I kind of like that this card is 4 cost. It's pretty cheap. It's affordable. 3/4 body for 4 cost isn't bad. And I think banishing a character may be difficult. And you would technically need board presence, like other characters on the board, to get value out of this. But it's potentially like a good card, especially in an aggro deck, if you can pull it off.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I definitely like the card. I think can be really good if you pull it off, and even if you don't, right? At its floor, it's a 4 ink 3/4, which it's not terrible stats, especially in this set, given like all the other 4 costs. Like it's pretty much on rate to the other ones because there's a lot of 3/3s, some 4/3s that it trades into fine. Maybe there's some like 1/5s, right? But that's fine, right? So overall, I think it does trade very well considering it's 4 ink spot. I don't think I would consider it a bomb though. Like definitely a very good card that I would take early. And what is this? Is this one a rare or super rare?
This is a legendary.
Oh, it's legendary. Okay. So yeah, I guess you won't see a lot of these, but yeah, like I mean I like it. You know, definitely something I would take earlier than a lot of other cards, but yeah. Yeah, just maybe not a bomb for me, but you know, like you said though, in an aggro deck, if you manage to like, you're kind of questing, and then if you manage to take out somebody, then yeah, I think it could be a bomb for those type of decks.
Yeah, you know what? You make a good point. Maybe it isn't a bomb. Maybe it's more of a sleeper. Like, this is a card that you may not suspect to have value, and I guess I haven't successfully created an aggro deck in limited yet. So, but maybe it'll be this time. Maybe maybe this is the set. You know?
Same for me though. Same for me. I've lost to an aggro deck, but I've never.
Oh yeah, exactly. So with a deck like with a card like this in my back, and in comparison, like if I'm not building an aggro deck, let's think about the other 4 cost card that we mentioned just earlier, the Mulan, right? The Mulan is a 3/6 body. It may not have the ability to give extra lore to your other characters, but if my deck is not aggro based, I sadly might be considering that Mulan versus Donald Duck. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, true.
just things
Depends
to
on
think
the
about.
synergy, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Just definitely something to think about. Mickey Mouse, legendary card. Essentially, I kind of just started listing legendary cards in general, just for us to like review. I don't know which ones are bombs or not, but so this is it's Mickey Mouse, Musketeer Captain. It's a 7 cost uninkable card. It's a 3/6 body, quests for 2, shifts for 5. It has bodyguard and support. And on top of that, it has Musketeers United. When you play this character, if you used shift to play him, you may draw a card for each character with bodyguard you have in play. So I think when you play this and it has bodyguard, you at least draw 1 card if you can shift it. And there are 3 Mickeys this set that you can shift into. 1 common, 1 uncommon, and a rare Mickey. But it's a 7 uninkable card. So, this is risky, I think. It's more risky than the 7 cost inkable Ursula. But maybe if you know you have enough Mickeys, and hopefully you draw this later, then maybe you can pull it off, So, what are your thoughts on this card?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of it. I think, and the reason is because like I like that Mickey, the 5 ink 3/4 with resist and shift 3. Like that one I like. It's fine for me. Like these stats. I guess the 4 I like as well, like a little bit. I think I'd have to play with that one to see a little more, but I don't know about the 2 one, because it's like it can help, I guess, kind of trade up right when it comes into play turn 2. I mean, it's not a card you want to play on curve. I guess you'd want to probably draw it later, right, to give something challenger to trade up. And so, but like let's say I only play the other top 2 cards. That means turn 4 I'm playing that one, and then maybe then turn 5 I would play this. The other Mickey I would play turn 5, and turn 6 I would play this 7 drop. And I guess I'm just not a huge fan of it because I don't see myself putting it in the deck as much, just because it's uninkable too for 7. I feel like I will have a good chance of shifting it if I'm playing the other Mickeys. And it does draw you a card when it comes into play. the stats are okay, right? A 3/6. I mean, they're not that great actually, right? Because we just saw, compared to the Mulan we just saw, which is at common, I think. It's not ideal. So I'm actually, yeah. I think the more I talk about it, the less happy I am with this card.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's a very good insight, and that's why I brought it up, and that's why I brought Mulan up again, because yeah, the Mulan has the same, stats, but it's a 4-cost inkable card. So I think, yeah, the biggest drawback is really that it's uninkable. This can really sit in your hand for a while. You may not get the Mickeys or enough Mickeys to shift into. This card may be a bait than a bomb. So.
And I checked it. There's 6 other bodyguards, in the set. So it could draw you 2 cards at, maybe at its best, but at least its minimum it always draws you 1 if you shift it. Actually, never mind. It doesn't always draw you 1.
Right. So you have to shift it. But hey, man, that synergy's there. It's like a maybe, but if we're being realistic, this is starting to feel a lot like trying to get brooms to work with the Sorcerer's Tower from Chapter 3. And I tried doing that a few times with what I thought was enough brooms, 5 brooms and 2 Sorcerer Tower, not enough. That is not enough to make it work. So I'd be curious to see if anyone is able to pull this off, and maybe our opinions will change. But for right now, I think this card is a bait, not a bomb.
Yep, I agree.
Raya. I think this card is kind of awesome. 7 cost. In contrast, it's a 3/6 body. Challenger 2, resist 2. And during your turn, whenever this character banishes another character in a challenge, you may draw a card. Yes, absolutely yes. I would take this card over Mickey, 100%.
I think, yeah, I mean, to be honest, there's not too much to say about this card. It does kind of almost everything you want, right? Like, it gives you Challenger, it's a strong body, it has resist 2, which is insane, it quests for 2, and it can draw you cards. The only bad thing about it, right, it's a 7 card, but like, when you pick this card, like, you should know that you're trying to go for a longer game where you want, like, to reach 7. So I think that's the only thing to consider is, like, when picking a card like this. And even, yeah, I guess maybe even if you don't want to go for 7, or like, yeah, there's no reason not to pick this card, I guess. Sorry. Maybe if you're going really aggro and you open this pack 4, in the draft, then okay, maybe that's the one time. Even then, though, I don't know.
Yeah, again,
it's so good.
There's a thing about bombs, and especially when you recognize them, and the biggest thing is, at least for me, is, do I want to face this card in my game? No, I do not. This card is a nightmare. So
yeah, true. Once he gets out, it just wins them the game.
yeah. This is the bomb that shifts the game. You're just like, oh, okay, I guess, sweet. I have to deal with this now.
Something of mine dies every turn, and they get to draw a card.
Yeah. That's a problem. All right. So this card is Ariel, Treasure Collector. It's a 6-cost uninkable card, 3/4 body, quests for 3, has Ward, and its ability, the girl who has everything. While you have more items in play than your opponent, this character gets +2 lore, meaning it'll quest for 5. Now, to me, this card is I think it might be a bait, but it's hard to ignore, like, the amount of items I think there are in the set, and just the threat of questing for 5 lore, which is like a quarter of the way to victory, is kind of crazy. So, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely agree. It's a little hard to say. I think normally, like, I would think it's a bait, but I guess once we take a look at the items, maybe I'll have a better understanding. Because if we are going to be playing a lot of items, then getting 5 lore in one, like, you play turn 6, turn 7, you get 5, like, that's a lot, right? Then they have to answer it. Most likely, it'll only probably hit 5 once. it's twice, it's game over, right? But yeah, I wouldn't pick it early, but I also wouldn't hate it. Yeah, I guess yeah, depending on the deck and depending on the cards I have. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't pick it early. Yeah.
I agree. Very situational. Wouldn't pick it early, but if I find that like, oh, I have like 4 bodyguards that are low costing, maybe I can stabilize the board. Yeah, it's very situational, but this is borderline bait, but I can see its potential. But we'll probably know more once we play a couple games and see how impactful these items are. So,
Yeah.
it's Isabella Madrigal. It's a 5-cost inkable card, 3/4 body, quest for 1, has evasive. Ladies first. During your turn, if no other characters has quested this turn, this character gets +3 lore, meaning it quests for 4. Now, its secondary ability is Leave It to Me. Whenever this character quests, your other characters can't quest for the rest of the turn. So essentially your other characters can challenge, they just can't quest. But when you have like a 3/4 body with evasive questing for 4 for you, like that's pretty significant. I think this is a great card. It's a rare card, so it's not, super rare or legendary. I think this is definitely a bomb. What are your thoughts?
100% agree. This probably feels so far one of my favorite cards of the set. Like, I mean, I do love that 7 ink card that destroys everything. But
Raya.
I really like this card. Yeah, Raya. His, you play it early, it's evasive, and it's always questing for 4. And I have to check a lot of the evasives, but I think it does beat a lot of like the 2/3, 3/1 evasives. So, I think yeah, if you play this turn 5 and like turn 6 you're questing for 4, and then what I like about it is even though your other characters can't quest, they can still challenge. So it's not like a super negative thing for your other characters. It's a really good card. Like, I'm always gonna first pick this card.
Yeah, 100%. This is a must-have card.
But actually, question for you, Jake. This card over Ursula and Raya. Let's say you open up all 3.
Oof. Okay, so if I'm being real, I would probably take the Ursula because I think down the road it will have value in constructed, so that's resale value.
Okay, constructed. Yeah, fine. I understand that.
But let's say a couple weeks later, we're a couple weeks in. No, I'd probably take Ursula again because I would need like all the set so I could sell those cards or play with the cards. Like, so.
Let's say it's online drafting, right?
Yeah.
And you don't keep the card.
Yeah. No, it's a very good question. So we have Ursula. It's pack 1. Ursula, Isabella, or Raya. I think Raya is such a scary card. Ursula may stop cards from singing, and Isabella can quest for, 4 in 1 turn. But Raya is just so scary to exist, especially the card draw, especially the resist. Everything about her is a bomb. So Raya, Isabella, and then Ursula in online draft.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, what are your thoughts?
It's definitely Ursula 3rd, right? And for me, it's online or paper, but or actually, I don't know. It depends what's the resale value of that card. That Ursula card, which I'm sure it'll be high.
It's gonna be big.
Yeah, so maybe I'll take it then either. But yeah, I think you do make a good point about Raya. It's a hard choice for me though. I like that I can play Isabella turn 5, so 2 turns earlier than Raya. Ideally, close out the game before she comes out. But sometimes, you don't get to play Isabella turn 5. You top deck her, and I would much rather top deck Raya than Isabella.
That's true.
Yeah, it's hard to say, but I think I'm still gonna take Isabella, and then we're gonna see how the games play out.
Yeah. That'd be a great thing to test out. That'd be great.
Yeah.
All right. So we have Cricky, the Lucky Cricket. It's a 5-cost inkable card, 3/4 body, quests for 3, and its ability, Spreading Good Fortune. when you play this character, your other characters get +3 attack this turn. So the stats are nothing too crazy, but it does quest for 3, and it really like boosts up your entire board. So in my mind, you're playing this turn 5, you have at least 1 or 2 characters on the board, and that extra damage might like just bring you over the edge to sort of establish your board presence and then just run away with the game by aggroing up. So I do think this is a good card. Is it as good as Isabella? Probably not, but this is definitely a card I would consider picking for my deck. So yeah,
I completely agree. I think like the bonus of getting the +3 it would be great. It allows your characters to maybe trade up. And yeah, it quests for 3, which is really, really good. The stats are a little weak, but for not having evasive. But yeah, in the 5 drop spot, like not terrible, I guess, compared to some of the other cards I'm seeing in the set. But yeah, the fact that it gives you 3 lore pretty much the next turn, and gives you a good attack this turn, ideally, right? The turn you play it, you can attack. I like it. I would definitely pick it early as well.
Yeah, I like cards that have abilities that like they activate when you play the card. I think versus other cards that you might have to play first then exert, because you do have to wait a turn. There's sort of that surprise element that it always catches me off guard. I'm like, oh, okay. I guess I got distracted. And you get to draw a card on -2, and then you take out my character. I guess that happens. So, but so something like adding 3 strength to your entire board to maybe even clear a board. Who knows? Yeah, it could be very helpful. And I could think of another card that this kind of helps with, but we'll talk more about that when we get to it. So, but yeah, decent card.
Yep.
It's 5 cost. Oh. 5 cost. Sorry, I have to redo that. Rapunzel. So it's 5 cost, 3/5 body, quests for 3. Its ability, Perceptive Partner. While you have a character named Pascal in play, this character gains ward. And there is a Pascal this set. It's a 3 cost, 3/3 body. When you play this character, look at the top 3 cards of your deck and put them back in any order. Quest for 1. So Rapunzel, I think the biggest thing that appeals to me is, 5 health isn't bad. Quests for 3. I don't know the likelihood of you pairing it with Pascal, but I don't think you'd be sad at putting this in your deck. Maybe not your first choice, but it's good for aggro. And those are my thoughts. What are yours?
Yeah, I mean, I think I couldn't have said it any better. Like, I completely agree. Like, you would play the other Pascal. It's fine on curve. It gives you a scry, and then like the ward ability is normally not really relevant, right? Because I guess depends how much like removal there is. That like, because this card's probably just gonna die to another creature. But the fact that it does give you 3, like it, like that helps a lot for the aggro decks. And if a lot of the other creatures in the set are like a little understated in terms of the attack, it might last like 2 turns. So it depends how you're trading.
Oh, here it is. All right, so we're looking at Flotsam, Ursula's baby. It's a 3 cost uninkable card with a 4/2 body. Quick escape. When this character is banished in a challenge, return this card to your hand. So it's basically hey, but with a 4/2 body. It's in quest for 1, and of course it has that sort of pair with Jetsam. If you have a Jetsam will also get when this character is banished in a challenge, return the card to your hand. And so Jetsam's pair is it's a 3 cost inkable card, 2/4 body, quest for 1, has challenger +2. And gives Flotsam the +2 challenger. So Flotsam then turns into a 6/2. So to me, these card pairings are like just bombs straight up. They're common, uncommon cards. This is the first time I felt both Flotsam and Jetsam can actually pair well together. Because even Jetsam itself is a 3-cost, a 2/4, but it's a 4/4 when it swings. Like, that's not bad for a 3-cost card. But the fact that Flotsam just keeps coming back to you and could potentially be a 6/2 that comes back to you, like, Flotsam's a problem. Flotsam was a card I used in the previous set. That was like a 5/2 inkable card, or 3-cost card that just dealt with a lot of big bodies. But I think this pair for this chapter, these are my go-to bombs. These may be my favorite cards for the set. Where yours is Isabella, mine might actually be Flotsam and Jetsam.
Yeah.
Which is weird to say, by the way.
Yeah, it's funny because in the last set, you're the one who had to kind of like get me into the whole Flotsam Jetsam, or I forget which one.
It was Flotsam, yeah.
Flotsam, yeah. And then I think you were really right about that card. Like, that card helped me so much. Took out locations really early, traded up really well. But these two cards are on a whole nother level. Like, both of them I would pick early. Definitely top level cards. Flotsam definitely the better one over the Jetsam, just because it kind of never die in a way. But yeah, no, I really like both of these cards. I would also pick them very early. And this is kind of one of those times I think with knowing like uncommons and commons are good, because like Flotsam is the uncommon, so obviously you would always take that early. But knowing that there could be a lot more Jetsams out there, that's just kind of a nice thing to know because they're common, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, I completely agree. Like, these are two really good cards, and I would also take them very, very early. And I agree with you, like almost bomb level tier. Yeah.
No, I'm gonna add a little more spice here for the record. Now check this out. Flotsam, 4/2 body, right? Jetsam, 2/4 body. A Flotsam and Jetsam. So check this out, everyone. There is a 6-cost Flotsam and Jetsam card. It's a combo card. It's a 5/5 body with 2 lore. Now, I'm not crazy about shifting it by discarding 2 cards. I think that's actually kind of crazy. But I would play this card just as it is. 6-cost, 5/5. That, by the way, when there's a Flotsam in play, when it gets banished, it returns back to your hand. And then Jetsam also gives the +2 challenger, so that's a 7/5 body. And potentially it could return back to your hand this Flotsam and Jetsam combo card. That's spicy. And it's an uncommon card. We're going to be seeing a lot of these cards out there. It's going to be a nightmare. I'm calling it. I'm calling it.
That's so true. I didn't even realize it was uncommon, the Flotsam and Jetsam one. Damn.
Yeah, we're definitely going to run it. Oh my god, I don't even know what world that's going to be. It's going to be... These are the things to be scared about in your limited game.
100%. And I agree, like the shift cards, you would almost never do it. Yeah, you would almost never do it.
There's no scenario. The best like combo of this would be having at least the Flotsam and then the Flotsam and Jetsam like 6-cost, because that way the card just keeps coming back to your hand.
Yeah. And you would never actually, like, let's say you had like 10 cards in your hand, you probably wouldn't even still do it, because then you would lose one of the abilities of the Flotsam or the Jetsam.
Exactly. But like Flotsam at its base is the bomb. That's crazy.
True.
All right, next card. That's enough Flotsam and Jetsam. The next card.
Yeah.
Flynn Rider. It's a super rare card. 2-cost Flynn Rider. Frenemy. It's a 2/2 body. But its ability, Narrow Advantage. At the start of your turn, if you have a character in play with more strength than each opposing character, gain 3 lore. So, I mean, Flotsam is a 4/2. That's not terrible. By turn 3, have this played out on turn 2 if you can. And just gaining passive lore for just existing. Imagine that you didn't even quest anything, you still get more value without like endangering Flynn Rider or any other character. But like, this card is kind of crazy. I think this is a bomb.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. It's great on curve, like, and this is also why it's also important for the curve, right? Like, let's say you play something in turn 2, they have nothing to play on turn 2. Like turn 3, you get 3 lore. Like, it's just insane. And as long as you, like, I guess when you do take this card, you kind of want to take those like oppositely statted creatures, or like 3/2s or 4/3s, right? Just so you can kind of hit it more often. But even then, I feel like, just like if the board stalls and you have this card, if you top deck this card, like you're gonna be in a really happy place.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All right, so I put Hercules, Beloved Hero. It's a 6-cost inkable card. It's a 6/5 body with Bodyguard and Resist. Quest for 2. It's rare, so not too bad. I think this card is just like really stabilizes your board. Just imagine Eeyore with Resist with a little more damage, and more questing.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I feel like this card, yeah, it's one of the best 6s you can get. I guess next to Mulan, it takes out lots of, when I'm looking, it takes out a lot of the 6s, most of the 5s. I really like this card, and it has Bodyguard, right? It's amazing.
Yeah, arguably, Raya could take out this card. The 7 cost, because it's a 3/6, right? 2 resist.
With the challenge.
Could swing twice with a challenger.
Yeah.
This is a solid card. Some people may choose this card over Mulan.
Yeah, that'll definitely be a tough choice if you have both in your pack.
So now we're moving on to removals. I thought this was an important card to get out there. Whenever there's like straight up removal in a set, I think that's important, knowing when you can banish a character altogether. And so there is a 4-cost uninkable action song called Be King Undisputed. Each opponent chooses and banishes one of their characters. So it kind of functions like Lady Tremaine, but it's certainly character removal, straight up removal too. So if the character has ward, that won't matter. Especially if it's the only character on the board, like Rapunzel would die to this, because you wouldn't be choosing the character or targeting them. Your opponent would have to choose the character to banish. So again, like Lady Tremaine from the previous sets, Be King Undisputed is probably the top removal card in the set, I think. And I think I would grab this early. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I completely agree. Like, it's hard. Like, I think in the last set we didn't see any or too many like hard removal like this. Besides, like at least because we had what was the Dragon's Breath card in set 1. Like that was the last time I saw an action that like removed a creature. Unless there's another one, I can't think of it in the last set. But
in the last set there was there's Meta Medusa, which took out a 3 attack character. That was removal there. I think there was Along Came Zeus, but that's 5 damage. Took out a lot of characters, but not Robin Hood and some other characters. But that's definitely a big removal.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, like this card's really good. Like, I guess right that the bad side is if they have 2 creatures in play, then you kind of have to wait till you can kill their weaker one. I guess it might get stuck in your hand, but the fact that it can be sung too is a song. Like I guess it doesn't really get stuck in your hand that much. It's not like you have to waste a turn, because you can normally sing it. So yeah, I would also take it early. I like the card.
Definitely important removal to have. It may not beat out Raya or Isabella, but I would be sad to pass this up, and worried to have to deal with it. So good card. I had to mention this removal. It's a 3-cost action card, inkable. So you banish chosen character with 2 attack or less. I don't like that it costs 3. Like, but if it costs 2, it would be pretty OP, I think. And I just think it's important to know that it's a common card that can show up. So your characters with 2 attack could be banished with this simple 3 cost action card. So just a heads up for everyone. You know, you might want to tech it into your deck. You might not. But watch out, aggro cards. You know, aggro decks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. I mean, like, it does take out a decent amount of cards in the set that are like 2. It takes out the Mulan, right, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, imagine that. Playing Mulan and getting wrecked by Brawl.
Yeah.
3 cost common card. Oh, big oof.
Yeah. And I checked actually. There's a lot of creature strength 2 or less. Like there's a good amount. But like you said, it costs 3. So like normally you'd want to play this against another 3-drop or 4-drop, right, to get your equal in like ink. But still, there's some really good 2-drops that are nice to kill, like that. That one we saw earlier, the that gives 3 lower turn, the Flynn Rider, right?
Oh yeah, that'd be a great one to take out. Especially that one's not going to challenge anything unless you got your Piglet and no cards. But
yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I guess this is definitely a card to sort of get you back in the game, like a good tempo card. I'm not sure how much value will have late game, but then again, yeah, that Mulan. It's gonna feel good to play this card against that Mulan.
Yeah, true.
It's like the equivalent of playing Rise of the Titans, which banishes location on a McDuck Manor from the last set, and I got to do that like 2 or 3 times to the same person once, and I was like, that was awesome.
Yeah, I bet. I remember hearing that. Yeah, no, I like this card. I wouldn't take it super early, but I still wouldn't take it super late either. Like I kind of would want to have one in my deck, and I would want to see how it plays out though, right? I think as we play this set, it'll be really interesting to see how this card plays out.
Yeah, I feel like this might evolve into something that may be a must pick, but you know, could be a sleeper. All right, this card is a bait. I'm calling it right now. It's a 3-cost uninkable card, Sisu. Sorry. It's a 1/1 body. A quest for 1 has evasive. When you play this character, banish chosen opposing character with 1 attack or less. I don't really know what you're targeting. I guess I don't know the set that well. That you'd want to play this card in replacement to any other 3-drop card. It's very situational, and I think it's a bait for an uncommon card. We're going to see it a lot. People are going to be interested in taking it, but I think you might be better served with a 3-cost inkable body on the board compared to this.
I mean, I completely agree. Like sometimes you'll be happy when it takes out like their 5-cost Cinderella with 6 for 9, like, but it'll be just too rare, and like this card's gonna be stuck in your hand most of the time, and yeah, it's just easily replaceable. It is a bait. I completely agree.
Yeah, not a dud, but it's definitely a bait. Like I just feel a lot of people are gonna look at it and be like, oh, could you imagine I could just remove someone and I guarantee you someone's gonna play that on me and it's gonna work. But I don't want to have this card stuck in my hand when I'm really looking for something that can just stabilize my board. So
yeah, and like the one time it does work, like the 9 other times it'll be stuck in that person's hand, and like
exactly. I mean, I guess I could take out my 1/1 Pegasus with evasive, but you know what else takes out this card? My 1/1 Pegasus with evasive. So
yeah.
And I prefer that card over this. So
Yeah.
All right. Next removal. This is an action card. It's a 1-cost uninkable Triton's Decree. Each opponent chooses one of their characters and deals 2 damage to them. So it's like a similar effect to the King Undisputed, where your opponent gets to choose which character takes the damage or gets removed. But the thing is, although it's uninkable, it's just a 1-cost and it's common. So, like, you could play this on turn 1. I'm sorry, it would be your turn 1. You're on the draw, and it helps take out your opponent's creature. So, I guess I hadn't took an in-depth review on the 1-cost cards this set, but there goes my Pegasus. So,
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and actually most of the 1-cost cards I checked before, there's not a lot of, like, there's some 1/3s, but like normally you don't want to be playing those cards anyway. So it's like normally there's gonna be 2/2s. Definitely trades really well. Like I do like this card because it trades well for its, for its 1/1s. And I guess I'm thinking of like worst case scenario, right? Like they have 2 creatures on board, they have someone with like 3 defense. And I feel like there's a lot more willpower, like higher willpower from cards than I've seen in this set, at least I think, than in other sets. So that's the only thing I'd be worried about this card, but still, I'm dealing 2 damage or something, it can be nice.
great early game, tough late game.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see how this develops, weeks from now, and what our thoughts are going forward. But yeah, this would be kind of devastating early game. So, Make the Potion. It's a 2-cost uninkable action. You could choose one. You banish chosen item, or deal 2 damage to chosen damaged character. So I mainly put this up here because I feel like there are a lot of items in this chapter, and this is one of the cards that can remove items. Like dealing 2 damage to a character that already has damage, I guess that's nice. It kind of reminds me of Robin Hood from the Robin Hood's bow from the previous chapter. But that was a very like situational thing. So this is a very situational card. It's common, but if you're building a deck and you're worried that your opponent's gonna have some, decent items, you might consider this card. But this might be a bait.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. The fact that it's uninkable is the only reason I also think it's kind of a bait. Yeah, because I feel like it's gonna be stuck in your hand a lot of the time. So yeah, like I'm not a huge fan of the card. I think probably I wouldn't play it. I don't think bait.
Well, I think Sisu is a bigger bait than this one, because your opponent will take damage. It will take damage whether you're attacking it or, they attack you. So you will be able to use it, but it does feel very situational. So.
You mean like, like they'll take damage if you didn't trade characters, right? Like or if like they took out one of your characters and stuff.
Yeah. I just can't. I can't imagine a scenario where your opponent takes 0 damage. So I think you will get value by doing 2 damage to a character on their side that has damage. It's just having an uninkable card that requires like 2 scenarios to occur it feels bad. So you might find better value on a different 2-cost card. But if you are unsealed and you have no other item removal, you might want to consider it. So. Alright, so I added this card. It's a 4-cost uninkable action called Avalanche. Deal 1 damage to each opposing character. You may banish chosen location. I added this for the removal set because it's the only card that banishes a location. It's a 4-cost though, and it's uninkable. And there are some locations that have like 8 health. So I don't see myself playing this card. But I thought we should add it to just discuss.
Yeah, no, it is, and I think it's very important to know which items or which action skill items and locations. I think just to be mindful of it, right? I also don't think I would be playing this card. Yes, it does. It is troubling when they have like a big location in play. Normally you try to take it out with your creatures. Anyway, though, I guess. And dealing 1 damage to each character is like, I don't know. I'm not a fan of this card. Yeah, I think it's not enough damage.
Yeah, it's the poor man's grab your swords, and but I guess you compare this with your your potion, the 2-cost uninkable, to do 2 damage to the 1 damage that you did earlier. So that's a great turn 4, turn 5 follow up, or turn 6. So yeah, so not for me. Not for me. All right. So we're finally getting to the first Sing Together card. It's a 10-cost uninkable card, the Mob Song. Any number of your or your teammates' characters with total cost 10 or more may sing this card for free. So essentially, if you have a 5-cost, 2 5-cost characters on your board, you can use both of them to sing this 10-cost card for free. And it deals 3 damage to up to 3 chosen characters and or locations. It's an uncommon card. I think this is a hard card to put in your deck, but I can see us testing it to see if it truly has value. Because when you think about it, turn 1, and let's just play it out. You're building your board, you're developing it with no singers, by the way. So turn 1, you have a 1-cost. Turn 2, you have a 2-cost, so that's 3 total. Turn 3, you have a 3-cost, that's 6. Turn 4, you have a 4-cost. You finally have 10 people on the board, which, by the way, you'd have to also assume you hadn't traded any of these characters. So then by turn 5, you could then sing to stabilize the board. So that's a lot of big ifs. But I guess it's possible to have that 2-cost 4-singer Ursula in your deck. And I believe there's a location that also adds +2 singer to characters at that location. So does it make sense to put this in your deck? Maybe I'll test it online. I don't know if I'm going to test it this release weekend. But what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, I think you explained it perfectly with the whole turn 1, turn 2. I think, I guess even if you are trading though, like turn 5, right, you take out a 5-drop, and then maybe you're only left with your 5 and your 3. So I guess, like, yeah, I think you will be able to play this card. It's unfortunate if it would be stuck in your hand for a while because you're like constantly trading. I guess it depends like how well your creatures are like kind of like planning for a board stall, right? I think if you're gonna put this card in your deck, you want creatures that like will kind of trigger a board stall where like they don't want to favorably trade with you, or like they don't want to trade with you because it's unfavorable to them, or just just breaks even. So but yeah, like the fact that it's uninkable it's I don't know. I kind of like the card. Like I think there's another card in this set with Sing Together that I would rather play over this card. Because like at its best, right, it does what, 9 damage across their character. So it works at its best only when there's a board stall, and that's when you can play it early. And then if they have 2 characters, yeah, you deal 6 damage to them. Yeah, it gets much less good, right? So it really only shines in a board stall where they have at least three characters. So I probably wouldn't play this card either in my sealed or draft for this weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I agree with you on that. I think that, oh man, people are definitely going to play this. People are going to test it. They're going to see if it works, and that's okay. But here's a little tip for everyone who's maybe listening to this. You better mulligan this card. Like, you better hope you top deck this card in the middle of the match. Because I just imagine getting this turn 1. It's kind of a feels bad situation if you get this too early without any singers. But like its potential is it snuffs out an aggro style deck. So I guess in theory, if you're building a deck for sort of the mid to late game, which means you have more characters that have more bodies that can swing in, then I can see this to sort of maintain that, because aggro has a tendency to sort of go wide, build a wide board, and this card shuts it down. So, but it's a risk, and you'd have to build your deck around it somehow. So, mulligan, please mulligan. If you put this into your deck and you're testing it out, mulligan it when you see it. I unless you have the singers in your deck or in your hands and you can pull it out. Maybe you got the legendary Cinderella, who knows? So, all right, so here's another removal. I thought this one was interesting. It's a 8 cost uninkable card, Sing Together, and you put all opposing characters with 2 or less attack at the bottom of their player's deck in any order. Bit of a risk, certainly anti-aggro to some degree. This is definitely a bait, right? It's got to be a bait because you're not banishing my Flotsam. Maybe my Jetsam. Yeah, you do get Jetsam, but not my Flotsam.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, it would feel bad to lose my characters off the board, and basically the bottom of your deck is pretty much the graveyard, your discard pile. But
yeah, does get Mulan too.
It does get Mulan. This Mulan's taking hits.
I know.
But also, this is an 8 cost unsingable card. I mean, uninkable card. Oof. So, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this card. I don't think I would put this in there, but I'd be curious to see how it plays out. So,
yeah, same. Like there's a decent amount of 1 strength to 2 strength cards, and some get 3 or 4. I guess the question though is how many creatures would you have to get for you to be happy with this card?
Yeah, no, to get value. I guess if the scenario was this magical scenario of turn 2 Ursula, it's a 1/4 with a Forcinger. Turn 3 another Ursula, so there's your 8 costs to sing by turn 4, which there I think might be at least 1 or 2.
Yeah, and if you got 2 of them, you'd be happy, right? Taking 2 characters off the board. Turn 4 or 5.
Yeah, I guess so.
1, you wouldn't be happy. That would not be worth it.
Right, because we're not exactly summoning out an 8 cost character to sing. We're definitely endangering at least 2 characters to get this action out. So. Yeah.
So maybe I'm not a fan, I guess then. Yeah, because I guess you are putting your characters at risk, even if they are just singers, right? This is not the song you want to sing. To kill 2 weak characters. I guess if I got 3 characters, I'd be fine with that, right?
Yeah, 3 characters is awesome. 3 character removal? That's huge.
Yeah, but again, I guess the chance is too low.
Yeah, it's high risk, minimal reward.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is a bait. It's a 3 cost uninkable card, RLS Legacy Cannon. It's an item. You can exert it and then pay 2 ink to discard a card in order to do 2 damage to a chosen character or location. First of all, you have to discard a card in limited. That's kind of a deal breaker, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's great that it's an item that can stay there and you can continue to do 2 damage, but discarding a card that's just too bad. That's really bad. This, I think, is a dud.
Yeah, I agree. And I guess the scenario I see it working is you're at the board stall, right? You're top decking your 1-drops. Then you could kind of throw them at the opponent, right, to deal 2. But maybe it's just better to play the 1-drops, right? Because they can give you lore. They most likely have 2 attack anyway to trade to deal that 2 damage later. So yeah, I think I agree. Yeah, I would say it's a dud.
Well, I think there's one thing I didn't consider, and I don't know if it's true. If you have no cards to discard, can you still play this card?
Ah, that's...
Because that would change things. If you could still play this card without the need of discarding a card, then this card suddenly has value. It's no longer a dud. This is maybe a sleeper.
Yeah, no, 100%.
But man, discarding a card is really terrible.
Yeah. I would imagine you have to discard the card. Yeah, it would be. Then it would be really good, right? Because you're always gonna get to that top deck war. I feel like dealing 2 damage every turn once you hit the top deck war, like that's too good.
Yeah, especially in limited.
Yeah.
But maybe we'll have to ask a judge on that, and then we'll return and talk about this card. Is it a dud or a stud? So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, we'll see. Namari. It's a 3-cost uninkable 2/3 body that quests for 1. During your turn, whenever this character deals damage to another character in a challenge, you may deal that same damage to another chosen character. Not bad. Not necessarily my first pick, but not bad.
Yeah, right, because it deals 4 damage, I guess. But how? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Or 2 damage to another character. You couldn't technically deal damage to the same character. So.
Oh yeah. True. Good deals. Yeah. So they would have to have another character in play for it to you really gain value.
Exactly.
It's uninkable for 3. Yeah. So.
Uninkable for 3 is a hard slot to fit with so many 3s, so many 3 options.
Good point. Yeah.
Like when you think of Della Duck, uninkable Reckless, I think, or Stitch, the 3/1 with Rush.
Mm-hmm.
Those had value.
Yeah.
Or Flotsam, 3-cost uninkable.
True. Yeah.
I think we're gonna see this card a lot. It's a 3-cost uninkable Hercules Clumsy Kid. It's a 3/3 Rush. Quest for 1. I think this is a solid card.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like a stronger Stitch, it doesn't die after it hits something, right? Costs a little bit more. It does take up that 3 card slot though, and there's a lot of 3s, so that's the only thing I'd be worried about this card. But like, I feel like you always want to have a rush card in your deck. It's always a good surprise on your side.
Yeah, rush cards are like having an ace in your sleeve. So
yeah,
this is a scary card. It's uncommon. It's a 5-cost uninkable Hercules with 7/3 stat line with rush and reckless. So it's kind of like the Maui of our set, but it's uninkable. But it's kind of a scary card, I think. What do you think?
yes, I do. Like, it takes out almost every single card in the set. There's only 2 cards, maybe 3 it doesn't. So it pretty much is like a kill any card that's exerted. I just don't like that it's 3 defense, so you're probably only gonna kill 1 card in it. Like, you're gonna hope that it's exerted their big guy, which I guess most likely their big guys will be, so not terrible. Like, I think it's a good card. I don't know if I'm like super high on it, just because of the 3 willpower.
Yeah, 3 willpower is pretty low. Definitely a card I would mulligan and want to draw later. Especially in the late game, maybe you're only trading once with this card. Because most 5-cost cards, do more than 3 damage. So, Alright, Goofy. 4-cost. It's super goofy, by the way. 4-cost inkable, 2/4 body with rush. Whenever this character challenges another character, gain 2 lore. And I like this card because you gain 2 lore whether you banish a character or not. This card's going to get value out of it. And I just think it's a decent card. It's definitely one I would put into my deck.
Yeah, 100% agree. Like, best case you kill something too, but even just paying 4 to gain 2 and deal 2, like I think that's pretty good. And because it's like high willpower, I feel like it's definitely gonna live. Or at least just deal damage to something, maybe not even kill it, but just gain you 2 lore. And then next turn they have to either kill it or it'll just attack again and gain you 2 more lore. So I like this card too.
Yeah, definitely a card that needs an answer. So, all right, Minnie Mouse, 5-cost uninkable, super rare card, 1/5 body. It's a bodyguard, quests for 2, and its ability Dramatic Entrance. When you play this character, banish chosen opposing character with 5 or more strength. This card might be a bait, but I guess you could synergize with it if you have a support character that you can add like attack to your opponent in order to remove a card. So, but it's kind of a bait because its attack is only 1. It does quest for 2, but yeah, this would be a card I'm not too sure if I'd put it immediately over other 5s. What are your thoughts?
Yep. Yeah, I agree. And I checked it. There's only 12 cards in the set that it can kill that are 5 or more. I do like the little like cheese thing with the supporting one of their characters to kill it. Like, yeah, I guess it could have a home if you have a lot of support characters. The bodyguard is nice too, right? Like if you're playing an aggro deck, maybe playing this on top of the curve is fine. But still, like over other 5 drops, most likely not. But yeah, absolutely, yeah. So I guess I'm gonna have to go with the bait as well for this card.
Yeah, I mean, it won't feel like a bait when this card takes out the 6 cost Hercules, right? It was a 5 cost, it's 6 cost Hercules with 6 strength, 5, willpower, bodyguard. This card's gonna be real nice, but yeah, I just don't know. It depends, but not my topic.
Yeah, it doesn't take out Mulan though.
Right, there you go. There's one that doesn't.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's anything that gives support 4 that I know of. But I think there's another card that like gives all your villains support or something like that. I don't know. Yeah, it's crazy synergies in order to pull off, but hard to pull off. But all right, this is an important removal. I think everyone should know because I think there are decent items this chapter. Aladdin, Brave Rescuer. It's a 3-cost inkable card with a 3/3 body. It can shift to discard a location card, which you're probably not going to do. But whenever this character quests, you may banish chosen item. So it's kind of like our Wildcat of the previous set, a character that can banish an item. And with very limited item removal and a very item heavy, set, I think this card might be sort of a must add to your deck if you worry about items. So, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I completely agree. Like this is definitely I think the other card we saw that killed an item, like this is the card you want instead of that card, right? It's also inkable. Doesn't do the damage removal though, but still. Yeah, because of all the items in the set, I think definitely a card you want to have. And the stats aren't bad. Like 3 ink, 3/3. It's not terrible stats.
Yeah, it's not a Benja, and even Wildcat has evasive, but honestly, yeah, this is definitely a card I'll absolutely consider adding to my deck, just because I worry about certain items that you'll see, and hopefully we'll get to them. So this is a 4-cost inkable song. I find them, I flatten them, and the song banishes all items. So this is the ultimate item removal card, in constructed and limited going forward. I don't know if I'll put this in my deck. Even though I was just talking about my concern of having items, I prefer Aladdin having a body on the board than this card. And this banishes your items too, so... But it's uncommon, which means, we're gonna see this card? Maybe? Nah, I feel like other people aren't gonna put them in their deck either. But we'll see. I don't know if anyone would build an item deck this chapter in Limited. That'd be really interesting, but...
Yeah, like maybe for the aerial, right? Because you want to have the more items to quest for 5, but even then, it's too situational.
Let's say you had 2 aerials. Oh my god, that's like a, 6-cost uninkable? Oh,
Yeah.
that's just... That would be odd. But I wouldn't be surprised if people are running more than one item and are able to pull that off. Like I think the previous set had Sumerian Talisman and Captain Hook and Maui's Hook in one game. But this card feels very situational. I don't think it would feel good to put this in your deck. Feel good when you play it and it pulls off, but I don't know. All right, 5 cost inkable Song. We don't talk about Bruno. Return chosen character to their player's hand. Then player discards a card at random. I think this card is kind of awesome, and I would want this in my deck.
I completely agree. I think it's also awesome. I think I like it more than the 4 cost uninkable one that we saw, that like they get to choose one to banish, because I think when you're in the top deck war, like you can pretty much kill anything, right? Because like most likely everyone's going to be playing out their whole hand. So this is kind of like a kill anything, and even if it's not, like, you know, turn 5, or I guess turn 6, right? You would play your 6 drop, and your 5 would like bounce something to their hand, and then take out something from their hand. Like it's just a really good card. Like I like it a lot, and it's inkable.
Yeah, definitely a good card. Another interesting form of removal, which is more like discard, but it's a 4 cost inkable Daisy Duck Musketeer Spy 2/3 body, quest for 1. When you play this character, each opponent chooses and discards a card. So I think, you know, the body of the card, a 2/3 at the 4 cost, is not great. But when I think about playing this card turn 4, you're discarding your opponent's what might be a 5 or more cost card. Might have value. So this card isn't bad. It's a common card. People are going to see this card played, and it's going to kind of feel bad on your end. So I guess the question is whether or not you plan on adding this to your deck or not.
Yeah, I think there was the in the last set there was that is it Friar Tuck? It was like the player with the most cards in their hand discards a card.
Yeah, it's a 2/4 body, 4 cost inkable card. That card was kind of a sleeper.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like I think and that card quested for 2. So I think that's what also made that card even better. Because every time I had that card played against me, it really hurt. Like it was a good body, could defend well and quest. I think that's the only thing that I don't like about this card is that, you know, it doesn't do, it does bigger body. So I don't think it's gonna be as good as that card. But yeah, like anytime you play this on curve and you make them discard a card, that's like, especially if it's a big card, right? If you play this on curve, it's great because most likely you will take. If you don't end up top decking this, it's not as great. Like I guess if you take out a 3 or 2, it's also fine, right? Like maybe any card, it's just fine. So.
Yeah, I guess because it's a common card, you wouldn't be sad adding this to your deck. Yeah, and I hope it plays out well for everyone, so just not against me, but yeah. We'll see. It's a 2 cost uninkable Pete, Born to Cheat, 2/3 body, quest for 1. Whenever this character quests while he has 5 plus attack or more, return chosen character with 2 or less to their hand. So it's kind of like a cloud kicker ability, but requires you to have 5 strength. And this character also has to quest. I feel like this is a bait for a super rare, at least in limited.
I think, like, yes, a bait as a super rare is definitely, I agree with that. I think I don't mind that, like, normally a 2 ink 2/3 is like, I'm fine with those stats. And I know we're gonna talk about this later, but there's like 8 other supports right in the set that would help it get to 5 to kind of kill somebody. So it's like you would kind of have to synergize it a little bit well, and even support you would need at least 3 support, right? To get it to 5, so it's not gonna be easy. So most likely that ability won't trigger as much. But still, I think the stats are fine. But I guess, yeah, I probably wouldn't want it as a 2 week spot. I think I talked myself out of it the more I was trying to find all the benefits for it. Yeah, like I'm not like I wouldn't pick this card early. Like, but I also wouldn't feel terrible if I have it just because it's fine on curve. It is too bad that I can't ink it though, right? Like, it would definitely be like one of my last few picks.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, the stats aren't that bad for a 2 cost. Uninkable hurts, but you would need to establish a board with support or get a lucky cricket, to make this thing work out. So,
True, true.
but yeah, very interesting.
Yeah, I think because you said that, though, I wouldn't play this card.
Yeah. um, I I just thought people should know that this card exists. I don't like it too much. It's a 3 cost uninkable item. It's called the Plank. You can pay 2 to banish the item, and you can choose to banish a hero character or ready a chosen villain character, and they can't quest for the rest of the turn. So I only bring it up because there are a decent amount of hero characters this set. It's technically removable, but man, this feels like a dud to me. So
Yeah, I mean, it takes out Mulan.
yeah.
I think though, the thing is, I believe there's 50 something hero characters, right? And there's a total of 124 characters, I think. So it takes out almost 50% of all characters, like 40 something, I guess. So it's not like a terrible, terrible card, but you do have to wait a while before you can take somebody out, right? Because you would play it turn 3. Unfortunately, you're not really affecting the board with a good hero, and you don't want to activate it turn 4 either, right? Because then you can't play your 4-drop. So it does take out a lot of the big guys, though, like, right? Like Hercules takes out the other Mulan, um, takes out the Ariel, I guess, the Li Shang. Like it even takes out Raya. I didn't realize Raya. Um, but yeah, because it's uninkable, it's not great.
There was someone who played a poison apple on Chapter 1 Limited that we did. And I think that person pulled off the poison apple twice on me. So, maybe this card has a place in Limited. Certainly in Limited. I wonder, with that many heroes in the set, if this card is actually a sleeper.
Yeah, like just like a later game sleeper, right? Which is fine, I guess. I guess you want to top deck this card, right?
Yeah. This would hurt.
Then you take out the heroes that matter.
Yeah. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see on this one, but not my first choice. All right, so let's review just a couple singers. I think that we're only reviewing 3 of them, but there is Cinderella. It's a legendary card. It's a 5-cost inkable with a 1/5 body. Singer 9. That's crazy. Whenever this character sings a song, your other princess's characters get +1 lore this turn. I don't know if this card is a bait, if I'm being honest. Turn 5, but it's a hard card to pass up in draft because it's legendary and it might have value in constructed in the future. I'm not sure. Do I actually think I can pull this off? Let's say it's limited. You have the Cinderella, Singer 9, and you're doing the mob song. Like, am I really gonna hold on to, like, only if the stars align in your mulligan are you pulling that off, really? Cinderella turn 5. Yeah, so I just don't know. It might be a bait, but it's hard to pass up. So
Yeah. I mean, I would pass on the card, but I think because there are like the mob song and then the second star to the right, the one that you draw 5 cards, like that's the song I want to sing, right? Like that's probably one of the best sing together songs. And this card does help you get to that, but like you said, the stars do have to align for you to get it. I guess in a board stall you also have a chance to do it too, but yeah, I probably wouldn't play this card. I do see a home for it in. Actually, I don't know constructed that well to know how many songs there are that that you'd want to play. Oh, actually, never mind. I do. Yeah, there's Be Prepared, right? That you can play. Turn 6, I guess, one turn earlier with Cinderella. So yeah, I guess it could be a valuable card, but I wouldn't. I would not pick it early in draft, um, unless I wanted to do it for the like the resale value.
Not sure. It might be bait.
Yeah.
I can see you getting baited on this one. Like you're gonna want to get this card and sing the 10 cost song.
And
I can
someone's
see it
gonna
happen.
do it on you. Someone's gonna do it.
I can't wait to report back and see if it does. That'd be pretty epic. But
Yeah.
I just don't know. I don't know. In contrast, there is this rare aerial 4 cost inkable cards, a 3/3 body, Singer 7. This is reasonable. Quest for 2.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is definitely a card worth considering. Hard to put it in your deck if you have no songs, for the record. So if you're drafting and you don't even have a song to use this card, does it still have a place in your deck? 4 cost 3/3, quest for 2. Decent aggro. But there may be better 4 cost cards to choose from, so.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. I'd pick this over the other one. It does also give you the opportunity to play the 3/8 aerial for 6, with shift 4. But yeah, like you'd probably want it more like in an aggro deck, and yeah, you would need at least. I mean, I'm thinking like, let's say I had one of those like 10 cost songs, like, would I then play 2 if I had one of these aerials? Probably not. I guess I'd want 2 of these aerials. I guess the more of these you have, the more you consider. But even then, there's probably a limit to the number of big songs you want, right? Like that. So.
Yeah, and the sort of, speaking of the shift aerial, the aerial Sonic Warrior, the 6 cost inkable, it's a 3/8 body, quest for 2. And its ability is when you play a song, you may pay 2 ink to deal 3 damage to chosen character. I think that card may actually be a bait in limited. Just like, how many songs are we really going to put in our decks to utilize that ability? Now, it is a 3/8 body,
Yeah.
so it will quest at least twice in my mind.
Yeah, true. If you play it on curve, on shift curve, I guess.
Right. But utilizing that sort of sing concept and doing like 3 damage, I think that's a stretch.
Yeah. No, I definitely believe that.
So I would definitely choose the Hercules, the 6 cost Hercules, 6/5 bodyguard with resist over this one. So
No.
Ursula, 2 cost common card, so 1/4. If you're planning to play songs, this is a must grab character, in my opinion. Like I may even bait myself into getting more than 3 or 4 of these cards if you're trying to build some sort of song deck somehow in limited. But hard to pass up.
Yeah, and I mean it also gives you the shift opportunity into the big Ursula. So, I'm okay with this card too. Also, like the defensive stats are fine, so you can only, let me say, maybe once, maybe twice. Yeah, I think it's fine.
Items, here we are. We finally made the items. Alright, so this is a 2 cost uninkable card called Hidden Incaster. When you play this item, draw a card so it replaces itself. And when this item card is in play, all cards in your hand count as being inkable. So I think this is a great card. It's common. It's only a 2 cost. And this is the card that makes you rethink whether you can have more uninkables in your deck, limited or constructed. So I think it has value. It replaces itself, so it's not a terrible card. And I'm not sure if this is a card I would target to remove, but it's definitely an item to consider. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm okay with the card. I like that it replaces itself because you can draw a card and makes all your uninkable sinkable. I think that's very good. Especially since normally we play around like, I don't know, 3 to 5 uninkables, maybe 7 max. Um, I think I think if we go back to like, knowing the odds, right, with the hyper geometric distribution calculator, I'm taking a look at it now and it's like if we had 2 copies of this, which most likely in draft that's a possibility, if we mulligan down 7 cards, we had a 38% chance of drawing it, which then would mean I then can play a lot more unequals than I think because I have a higher chance. Now with 3 copies, I have a 52% chance, so that's pretty good. So I think definitely in sealed, if I were to get a lot of these, I would actually consider playing a lot more uninkables. So definitely in seal, like this is a card that I would want a lot of, and it would kind of change the way I kind of build my decks. In draft, I would probably take one. I don't know if I would take it early, but I would definitely I would be okay with having it. Like I feel like it doesn't hurt me too much. Um, if I do play a turn 2 though, like I'm not playing a 2 drop. So that's the only thing I don't like about it, but I think that's also just fine.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think that's great insight, especially the difference between sealed and draft for this card specifically. So, yeah, good call outs. Next item. It's a 3-cost inkable card called Vision Slab. At the start of your turn, if an opposing character has damage, gain 1 lore. In addition, damage counters can't be removed. So, I think this card has great potential. I think it's likely that your opponent will have damage on some of their characters, so this can gain potential lore. It's an uncommon card, which means we're probably going to see it in your games. The one caveat is that you won't be able to heal your characters, so it kind of takes out value from some of those other cards like Bell that we mentioned earlier. But this card is going to be troublesome. I think if my opponent had this card, I'd be wishing I had Aladdin or that 4-cost song to take it out. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely agree. 'Cause it's like it's also nice too if they like I guess could do damage to like one of your reckless characters too, right? Who has to like attack every turn. And as long as they don't exert, like if you're in a board slot, it's like kind of nice. I guess in some nice scenarios. I think it's a fine card. I don't like how it does stop the bell though from working and like some because that's kind of the things you want. Some of those synergies. But I guess if you don't have it and they have it, it's great, right? So I think I think I'm okay with this card. For me, I'm gonna want to see this card in play. I think, yeah.
Yeah, people are definitely going to be testing it out this Friday, so yeah, we'll see. All right, so moving on to the next item, we have a 2-cost inkable item called Imperial Bow. When you exert it, you may pay 1 ink, and chosen hero character gains +2 challenger and evasive this turn. So initially when I read this card, I thought it was any character, but it's actually chosen hero character, and that's a big difference. Like, even though there are 53 heroes or hero characters in this chapter, it's still kind of a card that you may get 0 value from if you like have no heroes on the board. So initially I thought it was a good card, but now I'm not so sure I would put it in my deck. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so very very similar thoughts, like you said with the 53 characters. I think it's definitely a card you wouldn't take early. However, I guess later on in the game, whether you're playing draft or sealed, you can kind of count the number of heroes you have. And depending on how many characters you have in your deck, let's say it's like around 30, if you're probably hitting like 23, 25 hero characters, I mean, I don't know how likely that is, but it's possible, then, this card, like, you have a higher chance of hitting it, right? So maybe in the right deck, I could see it fit. And maybe if you're drafting a lot of hero characters, just by chance, I don't think it's something you should aim for. You know, there are some hero synergies, but yeah, because of that, like it's like a very niche spot where it'll fit in. Um, yeah, so like I would only play it in like very, very situational cases. It does give evasive though, right? And sometimes you really need that evasive because there's some pretty good evasive cards in this set. So
Yeah, this chapter has 14 evasive cards, I think. So just something to think about. But yeah, again, it's just unless you have the bodies, the hero character specifically in your deck, it's a bit of a risk. So, all right. So this item is called the Imperial Proclamation. It's a 1-cost inkable card. When one of your characters challenges another character, you may pay 1 less for the next character you play this turn. So it kind of functions like dock, right? When dock quests, you pay 1 less for a character. This one kind of just, you don't have to exert anything. You don't have to pay anything. You just discount on summoning a creature to the board. And I think this card, which is a 1 cost, by the way, I can see this having value in a deck.
yeah, no, I agree. Like I'm like on the fence right now on the card. I could definitely see the value. I like that you don't have to exert or like put anything at risk. And I guess it is a little tough that you have to challenge. So I'm just trying to see how it would play out. Like turn 1 you play this, turn 2 you'd play another creature. Ideally you'd want to either quest, forcing him to attack, or she, and then like kind of attack the next turn, right? And then that turn you would get the pay for 1 less. So probably by turn 3 you could maybe play a 5-drop on turn 4, or like a 4-drop on turn 3 at the best. So I guess for me it's gonna depend on, in an average game, how many like pay 1 less for the next creature I cast do I get? Because if I'm getting it like, if I trigger this like 3 different times, then it's great, right? If I trigger it once, I'm just wondering, would I be happy with it? You know?
True. I mean, in a way, it triggers every time you challenge, but you may not necessarily be summoning a creature each time and needing to have, that much ink for that. I guess, does this card have value when you're kind of ink blocked and maybe you're low on cards to ink because you're trying to hold the cards that you currently have in order to, summon that instead?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. But yeah, I guess it's a situational bonus that doesn't always apply to every scenario. So maybe not a bomb, maybe more of a sleeper item.
Yeah. I definitely would want to see this card played out a little bit more.
All right, this item is Medallion Weights. It's a 2-cost inkable item. When you exert it, you can pay 2, and chosen character gets +2 attack this turn. Whenever they challenge another character, you may draw a card. I actually think this one I like a little bit more than the previous one, the Proclamation, because there's card draw here, and you get 2 additional attack, which I think can be significant, especially if you're forced to challenge in order to draw cards. So when you think about Sumerian Talisman in the previous set, that one you had to sort of swing your character to attack something, and your character had to die in that exchange. So that's not always the ideal thing, but when you're trading like that, there was value there. At least in this scenario, you're swinging at something, your character doesn't have to die, and you still get the card draw. The big difference is that you pay 2 for this, and Sumerian Talisman was automatic. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I also do like this card, and it also allows your characters to trade up, right? Your weaker ones, to attack for 2. Like sometimes they're kind of just stuck on board for a little while. It allows them to trade up as well as draw a card, or maybe not even trade up, just take something out as well. So I do like this card. I think I would pick it pretty highly. But I guess it's something I would maybe mulligan in the beginning, because like I don't know if I would want to play this on curve. Like it's nice like when I have the ink to spend. Like because normally like turn 2 I probably would prefer to play a creature, and even if I were to play this turn 2, turn 3 I would want to play a creature, right? So maybe turn 4 I might activate it if they quest. But then they're gonna think twice. So um, yeah, like I like the card. It's something I think I would definitely play it. I'm just trying to figure out, I guess, when I would pick it. It would be not super late because I feel like it'll definitely be grabbed up because anything that draws you cards right normally is grabbed up early. So probably around like the medium, like my
Pack 2. Pack 2 at like, what do you think about Pack 1? This card I think will be taken. Honestly, if you miss out on it by like the maybe fourth or fifth card that's being picked from the pack, I don't think you'll see it come back around.
yeah.
I think from a draft perspective. And as far as playing the card, I think you're right. I think this is probably not a card you play on curve, meaning turn 2 to swing with your turn 1 character. It's probably a turn 4 play where you put it on the board. You swing with some of your existing characters. Hopefully you have 3 of them on the board. And then so you pay 2 to play it, pay 2 to use it, and then get value from that. So
True. And
so
then the first time it comes out, you'll get instant value.
Exactly. Like I wouldn't, in my mind, I would want to keep this in my first hand. I don't think I would mulligan it. I think I'd hold it and get value for it from either turn 4 or later. Ink it if you have to, obviously, but this has a lot of potential. So
yeah, and actually, I think I agree with you there because I didn't realize like turn 4 it coming down as a surprise is really awesome, and then it replaces itself, and then it's just any other card I draw after that I'm very happy with. So I agree. I would also keep it then because of that.
Yeah. I mean, think about, Mulan, man. A 4 cost 3, 6 body. Now swinging for, 5. It's a 5/6, and you draw a card. Like this, this card is uncommon. It only costs 2. It's inkable. 2 to activate. This is a great card to look out for. It's like the Sumerian talisman of this chapter. Definitely keep an eye out for it.
Yeah, and I guess also what I thought too is as soon as you play it, I feel like it's gonna stall the board a little bit. So definitely be mindful, like if you want to play more like aggressive or more like late game, then this card really will help with that because your opponent will not want to exert their characters because they know you're gonna get value the second they exert.
That's true. Everything else on the board can swing for 2, and give you card advantage. So
yeah.
All right, this item is a Great Stone Dragon. It's a 3-cost inkable card. This item enters play exerted, and you can tap it to put a character card from your discard into your inkwell face down and exerted. I think this card is very interesting. I think it's a card that has probably more value in constructed. I don't know how much value it will have in limited, but I really love the idea that you can, because there are, oddly enough, there are 2 cards in this chapter where you can pull characters from your discard pile. So those cards would be impacted by this, but overall, being able to use a character card that's in your discard pile that's not going to be used typically again, and just put it to your inkwell, I think that has a lot of value. So, but it's just, would you play this turn 3? I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I guess I'm not a huge fan of the card. I definitely can see the value, especially like there's definitely going to be a decent amount of trading. Like there's a lot more combat. When you play like sealed or draft, so I could definitely see it like when it comes out, the next turn it'll ramp you up 1 more, which is nice. I guess you're not playing a turn 3 most likely, so you're probably gonna play a turn 4. Then the turn 5 you would ramp up to 6. I guess I could see the value there, and then because then you don't have to ink anymore, right? As long as you're trading, your creatures, your lower level creatures, you don't have to ink. And if you're playing like some 6, 7, 8 cost spells, which is a little rare, I'd say, but still, if you get Raya, you want to get to 7, right? This card will help you kind of get there without having to use any of your cards as ink. So I do see the value there. I'm just, I'm still on the fence on the card because I don't know if I would just like to have the card in my hand. Like it does help in certain situations, definitely for the ramp. Maybe if I'm playing a lot of like high level cards, I guess, like high ink cards. But
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think the mechanic of ramping in limited seems kind of hard to justify, right? When you think about it, because a lot of times you kind of build your deck around not really being able to ramp. I mean, this is the first time we have an item that potentially can ramp, and you can ramp pretty big if you think about it. Throughout the game, you're definitely going to be trading. There's going to be a lot of characters in your discard pile. But it certainly comes at a risk, because, like, let's say you're ramping, and man, like, I would be interested to see how this plays out, a couple weeks in, if someone can build an archetype that revolves around this sort of ramping strategy and bigger, like, more expensive cards, like songs. Like, I would see, like, I guess this could do it, technically.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And I guess even playing, let's say you do play on turn 3, and then you can quest with your 1 and your 2, and as soon as they die, turn 4, you don't have to like spend a turn now inking a card from your hand. You now have created your creatures into ink, which is normally creatures I feel like would kind of just be sitting there. So maybe it's better than I'm giving it credit for, but I gotta play with it.
Yeah, I totally agree, because, like, there is value in not having to ink a card you just drew, Your hand actually expands when you think about it. But yeah, I'm very interested to see how this card plays out. Maybe this one is a sleeper. So, all right, next card. All right, so this item is Fortisphere. This item is Fortisphere. It's a 1-cost inkable item. When you play this card, you may draw a card, so it replaces itself. But you can pay 1 ink to banish the item and give one of your characters Bodyguard. It's a common card. It replaces itself. It only costs 1. This is kind of a maybe. I don't know. It might find value in limited. Maybe you just buff up your Mulan, the 3/6, just like draw a card and then make it Bodyguard to protect your other characters. I don't know. Just there seems like a lot of characters that have higher health, and this could be something that just protects an aggro style deck, maybe, especially with the card draw added there. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. Like I could see it being used in an aggro deck. I think normally if I am playing an aggro deck, like I want to be playing creatures that can quest though. I do like that it can replace itself, which means like if you top deck it later, like you've kind of like essentially made your deck like a little bit smaller, so you have a higher chance of hitting your better cards. So that's always nice. But yeah, like it's an okay card, I guess, because of that. Like the fact that it gives bodyguard, that's kind of nice. Right? Like it allows you to kind of set up your board, play a big creature, quest a lot, defend with your big creature, and then ideally quest again. So I could see it being played, but I don't know if I would play it. At least not in the beginning.
That's true. It'll be interesting to see where this one goes, because I think someone might be able to pull it off. There are a lot of interesting items where the items replace themselves. So maybe you are scrying through your deck more, getting to your cards faster because of cards like these, while adding extra sort of tech options for situational like scenarios. So, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. It is 1 cost. It takes that 1 cost slot, and when you think of the curve, a lot of times we're considering 4 to 6 1-cost cards in our deck. So does it really take the spot of even like a vanilla 1-cost inkable 2/2, or the Pegasus, the 1-cost 1/1 with evasive turn 1? So next card, Ice Block. So this is a 1-cost uninkable item.
You can exert it, and chosen character gets -1 this turn. It's a common card, and I think this is a sleeper card. I think this card is going to have a lot of value in a deck, and I personally will test this out if I get it. What are your thoughts?
So there was a card in the last set called Distract, which gave like -2 strength, I believe, and it drew you a card. That card was a lot better than I expected it to be. And I guess it's kind of like a weaker form of that. It's definitely cheaper, right? And it's constantly. So it does allow you to like set up really good trades, I guess. I feel like it can solve the board a little bit. So I do like this card. I don't like that it's uninkable, like you kind of have to play turn 1. But there's also not too many turn 1s, now that I think about it, that I would actually prefer to play in this set. I think there's like 2 of them that I kind of like, Pegasus being one, and I don't even remember the other one, but so I could definitely see it filling that 1-drop spot. But yeah, like I'm gonna have to try this one out as well. So.
Yeah, I don't think this is a card I would play on turn 1. This is, if anything, a turn 2 card, so then your 1-drop can swing with less damage, but it's not a one. This isn't a card that I would play on curve. So I think that's really interesting about this chapters. Maybe there are much more utility on these lower cost cards, and maybe it is possible to do aggro. I just don't know. but I just think this card has a lot of sneaky value, and those like incremental 1 strength difference in like your trades or challenges, it's gonna show throughout the match. So
Yeah.
all right, we're in card draw now. So card draw is pretty important in Limited, and here are a couple characters to review. So 3 cost inkable character. Is it Julieta Madrigal, or is it Julieta?
Yeah, it could be. Huh. I'm trying to remember from the movie.
Yeah, I don't remember either, so it's my bad.
Julieta, I guess, is probably like the Spanish way to say it.
Right.
Very Hispanic.
Okay, so it's a 1/4 body, quest for 1. When you play this character, you may remove up to 2 damage from chosen character. If you remove damage this way, you may draw a card. So I think this is an important card to have in your deck for the card draw. Has 4 health, so it will live for like a turn, I think. But healing a character, giving more like a character 2 additional willpower is big, and the card draw is big. It's uncommon card and inkable, so I think this is, you're gonna find this in a lot of decks. I don't know if it'd be my first pick, but I don't think you'd be mad at getting this card, fill in that 3 cost slot. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think like if you can play and heal, then yeah, I'm definitely very happy, right? Like to heal 2 damage and draw a card. I guess if you can't play it, then I guess I'm not that happy with the card, right? Because 3 ink 1/4 is just 2 weak stats. I do like how it combos well with Mulan, right? The 1 ink card that comes into play with 2 damage, right? So
The 2/3.
yeah. So if you happen to have like a couple of these, couple of those, like they synergize really well. I do like that. But yeah, even if you don't have like a creature that has damage, ideally you'd want to be then kind of like challenging turn 1 or turn 2, right? So you can get value for this turn 3 to play it on curve. But I guess maybe this is also a card that you don't necessarily need to play on curve, right? Even if you play turn 4 or turn 5, I guess. Yeah, it does give you some value. It plays itself. Sometimes I do worry about playing cards out like this on turn 4, turn 5, because then you're kind of not playing that 4-drop or that 5-drop. But because it does replace itself, it still adds to the board and heals. So.
True. Yeah, we'll see how impactful going wide or developing, a wide board, how that will play into this, because I feel like with the heal mechanic, with the ability, with more evasives, it feels like maybe this set, on top of like ice block, or maybe there'll be
bigger sort of board presence on both ends. And maybe this chapter is kind of designed to have characters use those sync together mechanics. So I'm very curious to see how this limited will go around. So, and here we are, the biggest card draw of the set. 10 cost Uninkable Song, second star to the right, sing together 10. Chosen player draws 5 cards. Is this a bomb or bait? Anthony, your thoughts?
Oof, this is a tough one. Like, I think, it costs 10, so we still have that same argument as the other card that we saw that does 10, the mob song that does 3 to everything, right, in our locations, or up to 3 characters in our locations. So it is a little difficult to play, and I guess same logic for that one, right? We'd have to play on curve a little bit more. Ideally, maybe have a couple singers, right, to play it, but the value you get from it, it's so good. It's great when you have a board stall. Like, I want to play it. I would only play one, right? Because any more than one would be a little greedy. Maybe if you have those cards that make uninkables that you can ink, but I would play it, but I wouldn't take it. I would wait for it to wheel, and then like if I get it, I get it, and that's probably the only way I would play it. Yeah, I think those are my thoughts. It's like I think it's fine card. It's a little risky though. If you can pull it off, I feel like you kind of do win the game, I guess, in a way. Right? You have a whole new set of cards and then just so far ahead. I know. When I would play this card if I know that I can stall out the board by having that card that like gives -1 strength, or that by having the other card that gives like +2 challenge or +2, and then you can draw a card when it challenges. Like if I have cards that I know can stall out the board, I would definitely pick this up early. But I would have to have a couple cards that like I know I'm kind of trying to go for that longer game. And then I would pick this card. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you that this is a late game card. I think, but if you pull it off, you have the advantage. It's not a whole new hand, it's not a whole new world, right? But 5 cards is significant, especially in limited. And I can see this honestly can be like, even if you don't have every single character card out there, and this card was stuck in your hand when you drew into it or when you mulliganed, I could see someone be playing this by turn 6, right? So turn 7 at the latest, and limited games go a bit longer than constructed, I would say. Unless you're going the aggro style, then this card is a bait. But yeah, if you have the board to stall out, like you mentioned, to challenge, have more bodies to be able to challenge more than once, yeah, this could be the nail in the coffin that you just need. This could be your win condition, even though you only have one of it in your deck.
Yeah, true.
Two is risky when you think about it. In a 40 card deck, it could be a worst case scenario, but certainly one. I definitely want to test this out personally, and then regret it after. Dolores Madrigal, 4 cost inkable card, 3/3 body, quest for 2. When you play this character, if an opponent has an exerted character in play, you may draw a card, and it's a common. I think this card is fine. I think you will find that your opponent will have an exerted character in play, whether they have quested or challenged one of your characters. It quests for 2. 3/3 isn't terrible. The 4 costs, it's right in line based on the power of its ability. And with it being a common card, you wouldn't be sad to have this card in your deck. So, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I really like this card. So I checked it. I compared it to the other 4s. It's around like let's see, it's around like 28, 30. Oh, actually no, there's a lot more 4s than I expected. But this card does actually do pretty well against a lot of them because there's a lot of like 2/4s, there's some 3/3s, there's some 3/4s that it will lose to, but the fact that it quests for 2, and if you definitely if you draw a card, it's amazing. But let's say you don't, and like, you know, at its worst case, it's still a 4 ink 3/3 that quests for 2. I don't mind those stats. It's like a decent body. You know, worst case, give you 2, damage somebody else, right, when they challenge into it. So I'm definitely happy to play this card.
Yeah, good card, good solid card. May not be your first pick, but don't pass it up. You might regret it. Here is a 1 cost. There's one to remember. 1 cost Magic Broom, Inkable. It's a 1/2 body, quest for 1. When you play another character, you may banish this character to draw a card. So it's kind of like the reverse Chernobog's Followers from the previous set, where that one you can quest and then banish it to draw a card. This one, the Magic Broom kind of just do its thing, whether you are questing or challenging for whatever reason. But then you can banish it. It's likely that you'd probably quest it then. You know, it functions basically like Chernobog's Followers. But that's card draw right there. It's a common card. It may not be your first pick for a 1 cost, but it's not a terrible 1 cost. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think in the last set I was definitely wrong about Chernobog's Followers in terms of the value you got from it. So I do think because this card is very similar to it, I think it'll also play really well. Like, you know, because I think you mentioned something once, which is like, you know, what do you expect to really get from a 1 drop? Like 1/2 lore right before it either dies or trades. So with this card, like, if you're on the play and if you can quest twice with it and then draw a card with it, like, you've done what you want from your 1 drop. So I think definitely, like, this is a 1 drop that I would probably want to have in my deck. Like, normally I prefer the vanilla 1 drops 2/2s that can trade well. But even those cards, like, you know, at most I'm gonna get 1 or 2 lore from them before they die. Maybe they'll deal a little bit more damage, but you know, this card helps you like start off the game well and then draw into more cards to play the better cards. So I like this card.
Yeah, definitely. And I expect this card will replace itself. Like, unlike the vanilla 1 cost 2/2, this one definitely replaces itself. So card draw's big.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a Diablo. It's a 3 cost uninkable legendary card, 2/2 body. It has a shift mechanic where you discard an action card, but you're probably not going to be using it for that. It's evasive, and during each opponent's turn, whenever they draw a card while this character is exerted, you may draw a card. I want to test out this card so bad in Limited. It's legendary, so the odds of that happening is slim, but I just want to see if it works out. Because when you think about, there's a Pegasus, there's a couple Pegasi in this chapter, and there's a 1 cost, a 2 cost, and a 5 cost in them. The 1 cost is a 1/1 with evasive. I think the 2 cost is a 3/1 with evasive. So this would take it out, unfortunately. But if your opponent doesn't have any evasive cards or doesn't have an answer, like the Imperial Bow and a hero character laying around, like, this card is drawing cards anytime your opponent draws cards. So like, I wonder if you have Diablo exerted and then they sing the 10 cost song, do you also draw 5 cards?
I would guess you would draw also the 5 cards.
Like, I don't think anyone would not decide to use a draw ability except for that 10 cost thing while this thing's out on the board. But, like, I think this card can have great value because it would be exerted during your opponent's draw phase, so it guarantees at least the 1 card before it's answered. You just kind of hope they don't have an answer. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, because like every turn, right, you draw a card from this card, right? Because during each opponent's turn, yeah. So like, you play this turn 3, they draw a card. Turn 4, you quest. Then now you're always drawing a card. You're always questing every turn. Like, if this card it can get out of hand really quickly if they can't answer it. And so there's There's Peter Pan that has Rush that could kill it, right? The turn, like right after you quest it,
Yeah.
right? There's that 2-mana 2/3 that gates evasive during their turn, the Magic Broom, and then Imperial Bow, which I don't think we'll see as much, and then Tuk Tuk, which is a 3 ink 2/3. So there's only a couple cards that really kill it, like kind of early, I would say. There's a couple other creatures with evasive, like turn 4 or like turn 5. So I feel like it's always gonna at least draw you a card, which means I think it'll always at least replace itself. And if you've drawn 2 cards from it, then you're golden. Like then it's really good. But maybe even 1 card is just enough for me. Like 1 card with 1 lore for a card that came in, and then maybe they'll damage to one of their evasive creatures, right? Because they'd have to like challenge into it. So I'm really happy with this card, and I would pick it actually really early. Like this card for me is like a very top pick.
Yeah, I agree. I think you made a good point. I think no matter what, at least, you know, unless they have a removal, the brawl, it's at least getting one lore and 1 card, and that's not too bad for a 3 cost. 1 lore, 1 card, so it replaces itself and could potentially be more devastating than that. But I will have to say that there is an evasive answer from cost 2, the Pegasus cost 3, the Rush Peter Pan, actually that'll come out of nowhere. The 4, there's a Triton as well. And you're right, there's a 2 cost Broom. I think I have it in here as a sleeper card, but it has evasive during your turn, sorry. It's a 2/3. So that is an answer to Diablo, but I would agree. This would be a card I would choose first and want to see if I can pull it off. But it may not be like a bomb where it sort of changes the tide of the game. This sort of just helps you with your curve and hopefully gives you that card advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And even the cards that can kill it, right? You're still always going to draw a card before they kill it, which is really nice.
Unless it's a brawl, because they have to exert this card.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so if you play it on turn 3 and brawl is a 3 cost inkable card, brawl can take this out.
You're right. I see it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's another catch. Like, I know Peter Pan itself has the rush with it, and that can answer for it's being exerted, but brawl would just take it out.
Yeah. True.
Another card draw. It's a song. It's a 8 cost uninkable song. Dig a little deeper. It's a sing together 8. Look at the top 7 cards of your deck. Put 2 into your hand, and put the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. It's an uncommon card. This one I think is easier to get to, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw this card in people's decks. It draws 2. Is it risky? A little bit. The earliest you could play it is maybe turn 4. If you play the 2 cost Ursula turn 2, and you play another one of those turn 3, assuming you have 2 of them and you drew into both of them, then you play this turn 4. There's a lot of ifs there.
Or even just 1 Ursula, right? Like a turn 2, and then you play a turn 1 and a turn 3 card. Like
Yeah, that's true.
4, 7, 8. Yeah.
So just 1 Ursula could pull this off. Would I put this in my first limited game? Maybe not. But because it's 8 costs and it's uninkable, I'd rather get more card draw elsewhere than from this. Those are my thoughts. How about you?
Yeah, no, I agree. Like it's definitely it's much easier to play than the other one, but you know, for 2 more Singer, you'd get 3 more cards in the other one. But in this one, you get your 2 best cards, right? Within 7 cards of your deck, which is already probably going to be like you've already drawn 7 most likely, and then you've drawn like 3 or 4 others, so 11. So like 1/3 of your deck, I guess you're searching, or 1/4. But it's not too bad. I also probably wouldn't play it at first. if I had two Ursulas in my deck, like I'm either sealed or I just happen to draft them, then I think I would definitely try it out. Just because for the potential, I guess, of drawing a turn 4. Then I'd have to exert the Ursulas. I don't know. Yeah, maybe I'm probably gonna wait on this card actually.
But you know what's crazy though? Just like not too long ago, I was confirming I would play a 10 cost uninkable song that draws for 5 cards, right? So it's like, is there that much of a cost difference between those two? Like, would I still be willing to wait for turn 4 and 5 to put this in? Like, is there really that much of a difference? You also get to draw 7 cards and choose the 2 best ones of them. So how is it that the other one wins but this one doesn't, and the other one costs more?
Yeah. Maybe it's just like a little bit. I don't know. That's a good point. Maybe this is the better than of the cards, or like if we're willing to play the other one, which has a little bit much higher risk, right? Because a couple more things have to go right. You need a couple more creatures, and this one, I guess you're gonna play this one actually turn 6, right? Because you're probably gonna have a 4-drop or 5-drop out,
Right.
or a 4-drop and like a 2/2s maybe, right? So
It's possible that, and this is now a little theory crafting here, because these cards exist in people's decks, people are going to be testing it out. They're going to be keeping it in their hand to see if they can pull it off. They won't be mulliganing it. There is going to be more potential for board stall, which may grow more like favor towards aggro decks. But this is the type of play that catches you up from an aggro play. So I wonder how that dynamic will be, and maybe aggro is the way to go because people will be testing this out.
true. That's actually a very good point. Yeah, like in the very beginning you said, like maybe that'll be the meta, right?
At least in the release. So for your release games, definitely consider maybe aggro's the way. I don't know. Abuela. We have a 3-cost uninkable Abuela. It's a 1/3 body, quest for 2. When you play this card, you can look for you could scry through your entire deck basically, and choose a Madrigal character and put it on top of your deck. I don't know if I'm gonna play this card. I guess you would play if you had the Isabella, right? The 5-cost inkable evasive. Like, I could see that being a thing. But do you really want to top deck this card at any point? I don't know. So I think this is either bomber bait, dud or stud. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so it definitely walks a fine line because, like, in terms of the Madrigal characters, there is Isabella. Bruno, I'm also fine playing, right? It's a 4 ink 3/3 evasive. And evasive is always nice. So, like, those are the 2 cards. I guess Dolores, right? The one we saw earlier too. You can get. What I like about this card though is like you play it turn 3, you get Isabella, so therefore your next draw, you know by turn 5 you're gonna be able to play your Isabella. And if you have an Isabella in your deck and you play it turn 5 on curve, and they can't answer it, like that's kind of your win condition, where you'll win in like a couple of turns because it quests for 4, right? So this kind of like helps set that up if you have Isabella. So maybe if I have Isabella, I think I would play this card. It also gives me like 2 quests, right? So not only does it give me Isabella, it'll give me 2 before it probably dies. So it does kind of favor more that like aggro style. But yeah, I played under certain conditions. I don't have Isabella, there's no way I'm playing it. Like, it's just too weak. Even if it does give me 2 lower, I feel like it'll just die too soon.
Yeah, good call. I wonder if anyone will be able to pull off sort of a Madrigal limited deck. There are a lot of Madrigal characters, but there are only certain ones that you're kind of looking for, like Isabella, and that's a rare card. So I will say Camilo, which I think we're going to look at later, has some potential. I actually think it's a good uncommon card.
as far as the magical sort of type. But yeah, I think, yeah, you're right. Isabella's the win condition. This is how you get to that win condition quicker. That way your turn 5 is on track. So cool. Another card draw card. I think this might be a bait, but it's a 1-cost uninkable action. Ursula's Trickery. Each opponent may choose and discard a card. For each opponent who doesn't, you draw a card. So it's kind of like force discard if they have cards to discard, but if they don't have cards to discard, you draw a card. So is it worth paying a cost for this card to pay to like replace itself? And or is it worth paying 1 to have your opponent lose a card? Because this card doesn't have any other function outside of having your opponent lose a card, so it kind of like doesn't null itself when you discard your opponent's card, because all it does is it has no other function outside of that. So I think this is kind of a baited card. What do you think?
Yeah, I also agree. I think it is a baited card because like even when you do play it, let's say you can get your opponent to discard a card, normally like you spent a turn doing it, so therefore their next turn they now drew another card, so I feel like they kind of will always have the upper hand, like, you know, because like you play it, they then just draw another card and they play it, and then they're kind of like back to normal, and then you kind of like spend a turn like trying to discard their hand. I prefer the creatures that come into play and make them discard, because then you're left with something on the board, like you have some value. This card, it's kind of a 1-for-1, but like if you can't do anything else like that turn, then it can hurt you, you know. So I do like how if you do top deck it though, then you either take out a card they have or you just draw a new card. Like I think that's awesome. So I don't think it's completely unplayable because of that, but I feel like you just don't get enough value from it.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Good top deck, or decent top deck, maybe not good top deck, because that's going to be situational. But let's say you're in draft, it's coming down to the last 3 cards. If someone gave you as your last card, I'd be like, okay, at least it's not Gizmo Duck. So Gizmo Duck suit, sorry.
Yeah, right.
All right, card draw. It's a form of card draw. Bruno's Return. It's an action card. 2 costs, uninkable. Return a character from your discard to your hand. Then remove 2 damage from chosen character. So I think we might see this card in play. It's not a card I would keep on my mulligan, or maybe you keep it in your hand. Think about it. Play it turn 3 or turn 4 to heal up a character that swung at something. You already lost an earlier character. Is this card a sleeper? Does this card have value in Limited?
I definitely think it has value. Like I wouldn't be mad playing this card. Just because you can get back, you know, your best creature, you can like trade and then just get back that creature and then even heal another creature. Like you could get a lot of value from it. I think my cousin did bring up something good once. He's like, the thing is like, he said when he attacks into their creatures, he's not gonna like attack them once just to do like some damage on them and then try to finish them off the next turn. Like when he attacks into the creatures, he's gonna try to take them out. So like their creatures won't have damage on them. So he doesn't expect that. But then, so therefore, like if it was like deal 2 damage to their creature, then I like, you know, to their damaged creature, then I wouldn't like it as much. But because like situations like that where you kind of have to trade 2 of your creatures into 1, you kill 1, you know, you lose 1 creature and then the other one's like it finishes off the job, but then it still has damage. Like I feel like those situations do arise, and that's why then playing this card after that happens is like it can be really good because you get back your other creature, you heal that creature. So I feel like it could be a sleeper, like, you know.
Yeah, I think you've definitely convinced me. I'm going to play test this one. This one's definitely interesting enough to even in some cases top deck, but if it's in your opening hand, I can see some value making it work, especially having a character just live a little bit longer and then, bringing back another card to your hand. So yeah, I think this is a sleeper. I think we're going to find that this will have value in Limited. Man, there's so many interesting and kind of annoying cards this set. And this is kind of one of them. Like, imagine you took out Isabella and you just bring it and it comes back and you're playing against it again.
Oh yeah, true.
Like, what did you have to trade to even pull that off the first time?
Mm-hmm.
This card brings back bombs from the dead. So...
We're just 2.
And it's just 2. Yeah, you could, that's a 5 cost, that's turn... I don't know if it's turn 7 if you have that many cards that you have inked. But maybe it's not a card you play immediately. There's just a lot of interesting... are you playing on curve for the aggro, or are you playing that mid to long game? And this is kind of that, I think. This card could swing the tempo of a match. Crazy. Didn't even think about that when I put this on to review, but I was like, oh my god.
Yeah. Well, that's how we do this, right? To talk about these cards. And then...
That's right, yeah.
Another card draw. This might be the last slide of card draws, but it's a 7 cost inkable song. Sing together. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck. You may reveal 2 character cards and put them into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. So it's kind of like the Be Our Guest mechanic. Only costs 7. Rare card. Does this card, get played? What do you think?
So I definitely think, out of the 3, like this one will be the one we'll see more often, just because it's much easier to hit because it's synced together 7. And it, compared to the other card, you looked at the top 7, you picked 2. In this case, you look at the top 5, you pick 2, but they have to be character cards. Most likely, I want to say, like, you're probably going to pick your 2 character cards. You're probably not going to pick the action or song. I guess, well, maybe if we're playing Brawl and they have, like, a Mulan out, but...
I guess I can't think of any... Most bombs are usually a character card.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, maybe if you're digging for removal, right? Like for that Brawl or something like that, then I could see their card being better. And maybe if there was, like, more removal in this stat and, like... Then probably the other card consider more, but I like this card a lot, and the fact that it's inkable too, I think it's great. Like, you can always ink it if you really need to, but besides that, it draws you 2 cards, so I'm pretty happy with that.
True. All right, and we're finally into locations, our location segment. So on this discussion, I did want to bring up 2 things. One, the different locations, but also there's only one character in the set that helps move a character to a location, similar to how Voyage did it, and it's Tuk Tuk. It's a 3 cost inkable character, 2/3 body, quest for 1 with evasive, by the way. But when you play this character, you may move him and 1 other character to the same location for free, and your other character gets +2 this turn. So in that scenario, it's likely you have a character that's already in play, then moving in, which means that character can swing into something. But just its ability to move a character to a location for free, I think, is significant. I think that's a great card. It's a rare card, for the record, Tuk Tuk. But if I knew I was going into locations or a location style type of deck, I would absolutely grab Tuk Tuk immediately. And for our first location, we're discussing Thieves, which is a 2 cost inkable location with 7 willpower. Cost 1 to move a character to this location during your turn. When a character banishes another character in a challenge while here, gain 2 lore. So it's like the similar mechanic to Robin Hood Outlaw. Sort of when you banish a character, you gain 2 lore. I think, and this is a common card. You don't get any passive lore, but the threat of your opponent gaining lore after they banish something that you have, I think, is is going to be present, especially when this card is dropped. I don't know if you play this on turn 2 on curve, but I think this location isn't something... It's going to be kind of a pain to see and play against. What are your thoughts?
So I guess, so for me, like, I'm not a huge fan of locations. I already, like, the last set, unfortunately, it did disappoint me a little bit. Like, some of them I think were amazing, and then, like, I definitely lost to some, like, some, like, Mukdek Manors or Queen's Castles, which I do really like. You know, I'm, like, a little bit against locations in general, so for me, like, a location that doesn't give me a passive lure, I'm normally gonna, like, kind of shy away from it. I think for thieves in general, I think it's fine because, like, when you play it, I guess your opponent won't necessarily want to attack it in the beginning. Maybe they will if they have nothing else to do. Um, so therefore you can get your creatures on there, you can kind of have them attack. I think the fact that it doesn't have the passive lure kind of makes it maybe even stick around longer, right? Because normally anything that has passive lure, like, they're gonna want to take out. Like, you're gonna force them to swing because otherwise they're gonna get too far behind. But for thieves, I'm just not a huge fan of the location. I think it's okay. It's definitely very strong, and if you can, I guess, pull it off, like, right, let's say you can get a character there, banish another character in challenge, and then gain the 2 lore, then maybe it did its thing, right? For 2 ink, you got 2 lore, so then maybe then it's a fine card. Now Tuk Tuk, though, even if I didn't have a location in play, or if, like, I think I would still just play this card. Like, it's an evasive creature, and you always want evasives. There's only 13 in the set, so you're definitely gonna have to respond to some of those, like, stronger cards. So you would want to pick Tuk Tuk early, I feel like. Kind of, very often. It also, like, just does damage to Isabella and some of the other good evasive creatures. So I would just play him just for its regular stats, assuming, like, you don't even get a bonus off giving another character +2 that turn. So I would definitely play Tuk Tuk, even if I had no locations in the deck, probably. Because it can also just give +2 to another character to have them trade up, right? But yeah, Thebes, I don't think I'm sold on it yet. Definitely Tuk Tuk, though.
Cool. Let me think about that. Or does it give you +2 automatically, or does it give you +2 only when you move a character to a location?
Oh, I
Not
see.
sure.
You're right then.
Might have less value. Either way, it's a 2/3. When you think of Wildcat from the previous set, which was same stat line, same cost, but it banished an item. Tuk Tuk is still evasive. It still has value, so I actually think it's still an okay card to grab. It may not be your first card, because obviously you're looking for a bomb, but this is a card that stabilizes your board presence. So,
Yep.
this is Atlantica. This location is a 1-cost inkable card with 6 willpower. It costs 2 to move a character to there, but characters count as having +2 song or sing here. Characters count as having +2 cost to sing songs while here. So maybe this was the card that gets people to play those, like, sing together songs. It's certainly, if this location was chilling on my opponent's board and he starts moving his characters to that location, I might start panicking. Not gonna lie. When you think about it? Because by turn 2, no, not even turn 2. So, yeah, turn 2, you couldn't pull it off on turn 2. It'd be turn 3, right? Because you still need to use 3 ink in total to move one of your characters, and let's assume that character is the 2-cost character. Now it's a 4-cost character. Turn 4 is another 4-cost character you play. So then by turn 5, you're singing at least an 8-cost song. Is that viable? Will this location survive to turn 5? It's likely that your opponent wouldn't want to trade, especially if they're using all those characters to sing a song. But maybe people just need to be mindful. If this card is played on curve or close to curve,
you need to get rid of it by turn 5 or sooner, maybe? I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so because exactly how you explain it out, like how long it would take to kind of play your characters and move them there, it's just too costly for me to see it work well. Like, so I don't think it can be played like turn 1 because I feel like most likely they'll attack into it kind of early. So I don't think it'll last till turn 5. But I guess I'm thinking then, like, let's say the opposite here. Like, let's say you set up your board turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, turn 4, turn 5, then you draw this location. So then you could play it right turn 5 as a 1, and then you could move 2 other creatures there and then sing a song. So let's say then you move your 3 and your 4 drop there. So now they're singing for 6. They can sing for 11, right? Turn 5 because of this. Right, because your 3 would sing as a 5 and your 4 would sing as a 6. If you play this turn 5, you could move you could move your turn 3 and your turn 4 creature there and then sing that song. Sing any song, I guess.
You know what? That raises a very good point, and maybe the truth is this card, and this card and the locations in this particular set, since not many of them provide passive lore, I think some of them do. This locations are just cards you don't play on curve. You play them because you require synergy, and you play them later so then you can get value out of them immediately. So, yeah, that's a good point. This location, if you have this in your opening hand, are you really holding it? To play the song that you might be holding in your hand, it's really hard to justify it necessarily. I don't know what the lowest costing song is for this set. I'm actually gonna look at that really quick.
But I think, like, having a turn 5, assuming you have a 3 and a 4, like, that means turn 5 you're singing that song. Like, you're singing any song. Or, like, any of the big songs, sorry.
That's true.
And I guess technically if you had Ursula, you could you play turn 4 and then move Ursula? Turn 4 she would sing as a 6? Oh no.
Turn 2 Ursula, 4 singer, move her turn 3. She's now 6 singer. There is Treasure Untold, which is a 6 cost uninkable song. Return up to 2 items from your discard to your hand. There is a 2 cost song, Seldom All They Seem. Chosen character gets -3 this turn. That's an inkable card. I did not add it to our list to review. But I guess if we don't talk about Bruno, 5 cost song.
That's a good song.
But is it a great song early or a great song later?
Yeah, true. Definitely later, right?
Stronger later, but it still has value early game, because no one wants to lose a card that early while also like losing board presence. So it's like a tempo play. I mean, there's also Poor Unfortunate Soul. That's a 2 cost song. Return chosen character, item, or location with cost 2 or less to their player's hand. There is a Lost in the Woods. Oh god, I should have made slides to talk about these songs, but there is a 4 cost inkable song. All opponent characters get -2 until the start of your next turn. It is a 4 cost though. It's uncommon. But that would be a big pain. That's definitely a card for an aggro deck.
Yeah, no, I agree. But like this location, like you would use it to sing the bigger songs, I guess. Not like these smaller songs. I feel like you would just sing the smaller songs on, just with your 2-drop, 3-drop, your 4-drop.
True. All right, next location. Ursula's Lair. It's a 3 cost uninkable location. 6 willpower, cost 2 to move a character. Has 2 abilities. When a character is banished in a challenge while here, you may return it to your hand. So similar to sort of the Flotsam Hey Hey mechanic, but you have to move a character here. And Seat of Power. Characters named Ursula get +1 lore while here. And this one generates lore. So I think when this location drops on the board, people are going to want to answer it. And if you're looking to have value for it immediately, you're probably playing this card turn 5. Is this card good? What do you think?
This is a tough one, right? Because I love the fact that it gives passive lore, but because of what you just said, right? Like, let's say I do play a turn 5, and that means that my 4 or my 3 I can trade into your guy freely and just get my card back in a way, right? It goes to my hand. Because like they're not gonna expect it, assuming they exerted, right? So if they exerted, then it would give me value turn 5 right away. But also, if I'm top checking this, like, I guess if it's a board stall, I guess it doesn't really matter. It will force them to attack the second I play it, so that's fine. But if they're already exerted, then I technically could get more than one card back, right? More than one creature. So I feel like it can be good. The fact that it's uninkable though, that's the only thing. It's like I'm worried that it would get stuck in my hand and like I'll just have to play it like, and then it'll just die too early and just I won't get the value from it. That's the only part I don't like about it. So I probably wouldn't pick it early. I really love the ability. I think it's nice. There's only like 2 ifs, I guess, would have to happen, right? They'd have to be exerted, and then you'd have to have enough mana to play, move, and challenge to kind of get the value back. So I don't know. I don't think I like it.
I think if the cost of moving a character was 1, this thing's OP.
Oh yeah, true.
And you'd play it on curve. And if we played it on curve this turn, then I guess you move a character by turn 4, and that character is likely a 1 or 2 cost card. Not terrible, but you'd be trading, so whatever that card is, it's something you have to challenge. You couldn't just quest. Oh wait, whenever this character is banished in a challenge. Okay, so you could just quest, and it just goes back to your hand.
Oh yeah.
So actually, this could work in an aggro scenario, but it would mess up with your tempo, because they challenge, it goes back to your hand, you play, or they have to answer, and it passively gets a lore. I'm gonna say this could be a sleeper.
Mm-hmm.
It's a dud or stud. It's either, but I think it changes the dynamic of the board stall. So maybe that's just enough.
True, exactly. That's always important.
Yeah, this is a scary card to have to deal with because it messes up your tempo. So I'm curious to see if this gets value. So we'll see.
All right, here's a card that I think has good value for a location.
1 cost inkable location, 6 health, hidden cove. 1 cost to move a character. Characters get +1/+1. I know +1/+1 doesn't sound like a lot, but I think that has value. That just has basic value on your character cards. It doesn't have passive lore, and it'll only cost 1. The question really is does this really take the place of a 1 cost card? What are your thoughts?
So I guess the closest thing this location reminds me of is Pride Lands from the last set. And sometimes I got wrecked by that card. So I feel like that card was definitely better than I thought. And this one kind of gives me those vibes. It is a little bit cheaper, and it gives you +1 strength, which is nice. So, but the thing about the Pride Lands though is that there was something I learned, which was I guess maybe obvious, right? When you have a creature there who like has 2 defense, and then it took like 2 damage, but because it's on the location, it gets +1 willpower. So therefore, once they kill the location, the creature just dies. That's the that's the only thing I worry about this card. It's like, yes, my creatures can trade up well, and because of that 1 extra willpower, but as soon as they take out the location, it might end up kind of clearing my creatures that are there. So I think at best it'll definitely give me 1 good trade. I'm wondering if that's enough for me, like, because I feel like I normally don't like playing 1s. So I normally like playing one drop locations, It doesn't give me the willpower though, so that's the only thing I'm like a little hesitant on. So like turn 3, I'd be able to move a creature here, and then maybe attack, right? Turn 1 I play, turn 2 I play a creature, then turn 3 I'd have to move it, and then not play a 3-drop, play a 2, and then maybe attack. So I think because of that, I've kind of talked myself a little bit out of this location.
Yeah, maybe it's just proof that locations are better served, even at this low cost, later.
True.
It's just, I agree that Pride Lands did, teach us a valuable lesson about locations and health and willpower that goes away. But at the same time, the same character would have been killed off anyways back then, so
True.
it might just be, wondering whether it was worth using your ink to move a character there or not. But so yeah, I guess it's more situational. I will be curious to see how this one plays out. Maybe it's a sleeper. I don't know. It just might be. +1/+1 is not a small stat in a game that's like incremental, like small numbers.
Yeah, and I think Pride Lands is great last set, so yeah, I think it could be a sleeper. I agree.
All right, this is probably my favorite location. I'm sure it's probably favorite for others. This location is a 2-cost inkable card, 9 willpower, 2 costs to move there. It's called the Snuggly Duckling. When a character with 3 attack or more challenges another character while here, gain 1 lore. And if the challenging character has 6 attack or more, gain 3 lore instead. I think this is a very interesting location. There are a lot of things that have to go to make it work, which kind of stinks. But just gaining 3 lore while also clearing your opponent's board is kind of scary. That's kind of my thought behind this. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree. Like and it's a great combo with Tuk Tuk as well. Like you can just inch one of your creatures over to the turn it comes out. Or like the T-Cam, the Tylee, I forget the name of the guy that gives +3 to everything.
Oh, the Lucky Cricket?
Yeah, that guy. Yeah. so it can't combo well with some cards, which is it's always good to see synergy. I feel like, I like to see more of that. I would want to see more of that. It does cost 2 to move, right, which is always like a tough sell. The 9 willpower though, I think that's the thing that'll keep it alive at least for a turn or two. And like if I were to play this late game, I can move all my creatures here if I top deck it, so it's kind of nice. It like they kind of can attack at that point, right? Because I just would gain so much lore from attacking them. So I think it can be a good card, like, and I can ink it too, which is the best thing, right? Like I don't have to play it, or like if there's if it just doesn't fit in my current gameplay, then I ink it. So I feel like it could be a sleeper for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. That's good insight. And so here's the little question then. Do you choose the Snuggly Duckling, 2-cost inkable location, or the Ursula's Lair, the 3-cost uninkable, but has the the character return in a challenge?
I guess I choose the Snuggly Duckling, even though I love Ursula's Lair ability so much more. Just because Snuggly Duck, like I get more versatility by being able to ink it. Actually, no. Yeah, no, I do. Yeah, I choose Snuggly Duckling, even though Ursula's Lair also gives that 1 passive lore, which forces them to attack, and that's normally very big. But yeah, I want the versatility, I think, over the raw power, and normally, like, I think before like trying out locations and seeing what they can do, I would have picked Ursula's Lair before, but now I'm like I think a little bit more play a little bit more defensive than before.
Yeah, I agree. I think I would take the Snuggly Duckling first, and try to play this one out. 9 willpower is a lot. I would expect someone being able to get at least one lore from this location, if not more. Whether they're swinging a lot with just a 3 attack character, or pulling off the 6 attack or more, sort of 3 lore in 1. I think this is a scary card to go against, and I look forward to seeing how it plays out. All right, last location that we're going to be discussing. It's a 3-cost inkable winter camp, 8 health, 1 ink to move a character, and has a passive for 1 lore. When a character quests here, remove up to 2 damage from them. If they're a hero character, remove up to 4 damage instead. Really, for me, it's the fact that it's passive lore, it's inkable, it's 3 cost, and technically your characters can sort of heal themselves. I think that's significant. I think it's a common card. This may be a sleeper, but I can see it having value and being really annoying to deal with. How about you? What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. Pretty much everything you said. Yeah, like I would definitely. I think this is probably my favorite location over all the other ones, just because it does have that really high willpower, forces them to attack. If they can't take it out, then it's like, then yeah, then I could just get some favorable trades. I like this one a lot, and I would definitely play this one.
Yeah, I think this is kind of this is a scary location. This is the type of card that I would consider playing that item that banishes the location. Like Avalanche, right? Is that the one, right? 4 cost uninkable. This is a scary card. Like, imagine putting an evasive card in here. Hard to deal with. Isabella just chilling here, healing herself. Is Isabella a hero? Oh my god. I'm gonna check that right now. It's a Magiga, but let's make sure.
No, she's an ally.
Okay. Alright, good. I mean, not that good, but like, you know how much of a nightmare that would have been? Oh my god. But like, we mentioned this before, 53 characters are heroes in this chapter. Like, that could be a problem. This is a scary location, and one I would definitely want in my deck.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, here are our sleepers. I don't know if it's really a sleeper, but it's a 1-cost Pegasus. 1-cost inkable card, 1/1 body, evasive. I would love to play this turn 1. Hands down. I see myself questing with it, likely, right? Unless I see an immediate answer, because there are no 1-cost or 2-cost evasive cards with rush that I know of in this set. So at minimum, this card is questing for 1, and the ceiling just keeps going so long as they have no evasive answer. Pegasus is a scary card. It's a common card, and we're going to be seeing them a lot. In addition, you can shift into its other form. It's a shift 3, 5-cost Pegasus, but shift 3, 3/3, quest for 2, and the Pegasus Cloud Racer. When you play this character, if you used shift to play him, your other characters gain evasive until the start of your next turn. So that can be a way to answer for your opponent's evasives, or maybe even keep your aggro or board presence like going for a turn, so you could keep questing and just like gaining advantage through that. Now I added the other Pegasus since we had mentioned the shift 3. There is a 2-cost Pegasus inkable 3/1 body evasive quest for 1. All 3 of these cards I'd be happy to have in my deck. I would be willing to like not put the 5-cost Pegasus for a different 5-cost card, but between the 3 of them, they're 2 commons. It's uncommon. I think we're going to see this card in Limited a lot. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, like I agree. Like, definitely we're gonna see this card a lot, and I think because we're gonna see a lot, like I normally take evasives early, but I feel like I'm gonna have to try to get even earlier than normal, just because given the arguments like what do you want from your 1-drop, this card will give you, if you're on the play, like it'll give you a good amount of lore like throughout the game. If they can't answer evasive, like 6 turns in, you gain 6 lore from this card, right? And if you can shift it, it's it's even more, right? Like turn 3, 3 evasives, it's pretty nice. So I think because of that, like I also don't like a lot of the 1-drops, but this is definitely gonna be a really, really, and just the fact that it's like common, like you're really gonna need evasives to stop this thing. Otherwise, it'll just run away with the game. Like, which does also worry me a little bit, because like, it would be very annoying if like you open up your seal pool and you get no evasives, and then they turn 1 Pegasus against you, and you're like, oh great.
That's definitely nightmare scenario, and yeah, it's very possible, everyone. So just giving a heads up to everyone, it's so important. When I'm editing these videos, this is going to be one of those cards that we discuss. Like this one common evasive card is making the cut. Like this is, you got to know it. You have to know it. You're going to see it. It's going to be super annoying, and you better prepare. So this may be my favorite card of the set. I don't know. It might be Flotsam, actually. Maybe Flotsam.
Oh yeah, true.
But this may be my best, like my favorite 1 cost. Like when you think about Pascal, that requires another character in order to have the evasive, and Pascal is super annoying.
Mm-hmm.
So Pegasus, hats off. You get the chef's kiss. So
100%.
So here's the location I wanted to mention. Just maybe it's a sleeper card. 1 cost inkable location, Casa Madrigal. 6 willpower. 1 cost to move a character there. And at the start of your turn, if you have a character here, gain 1 lore. So this is a location that requires an answer. This is a location I expect to be played early, unlike all the other locations where you probably get value down the road, playing on curve to move to get a thing. Like if you place this out on turn 2, because I assume you'd have a character by turn 1, this card has to have an answer, and there aren't many cards that swing for 6 by turn 2 or 3, like even combined. So I think this will be a sleeper threat. It's a common location, and you should keep an eye out for it. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, like, I definitely do see the value. Like, I treat this card as if it just has passive lure later in the game. So it's definitely something they have to answer. I'm fine drawing it, like top decking it, because it forces, like, it stops the war stall. I could see myself playing it early. Also, like, just to force them to attack or swing in, which I could see pretty nice. And yeah, you're right, because of the 6 willpower, it's like it'll take at least 2 turns to kill. So maybe you'll get 1 lore from, maybe 1 could exchange from it, or 2 lore, and then they have to answer it by like turn 4 or something like that. Yeah, so I think it's a fine card. Like, I still don't think it's something I'd play though. For me, this is a dud. I mean, it's not as bad as a dud. No, it's definitely not a dud. Right, but it's also
It ain't a stud.
yeah, it ain't a stud either.
Yeah, I mean, like, so yeah, very good point. Yeah, I think it'll be a sleeper on certain games, and I think a good question to know whether a card is worth it is, can you get the value of the card in every single game that you play? And that's not true of all cards,
Mm-hmm.
You're not always going to get the same value. Some games play better than others because a lot of it's circumstantial, and yeah, this probably is more circumstantial. It does take that 1 cost slot. You wouldn't be choosing this over Pegasus, but because I was actually going to follow up with, like, hey, if you are trying to play this location, like, is this a card you put like 4 in your deck and try to like scry for it in your mulligan and like try to make it work? Or does it really take up the slot of the Pegasus that can
potentially get a lot of value there. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Not a fan, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah. This might be more bait, but yeah. All right, so we have Raja. It's a 4-cost inkable character, 3/4 body, quest for 2. While you have no cards in your hand, characters with cost 4 or less can't challenge this character. Now, I think this one's a sleeper. It's a rare card, mainly because if you're playing this on curve, your hand size is probably pretty low by then. And I think what happens in limited, often, you get to top deck mode at some point, and you're just sort of waiting for the right card and waiting for the right moment. And this card really takes advantage of your opponent, who might still have, like, if you play this turn 4 and you're on the play, it's questing for 2 for sure. And even if you're on the draw, I mean, I guess it quests for 2 and then it could be swung at, but yeah, I think this card has value. Maybe not my first pick, but it would really suck to have to deal with this. Because I think in previous sets there was this Captain Hook that can't be challenged by like characters that cost 3 or less. I remember that being super annoying. I get the small caveat to this is that you have to have no cards in your hands, but I just think you'll probably find value with this card in limited, and it might just push you to victory. So what are your thoughts?
So I actually think this card is very, very good, and I guess I'm just checking like what characters 5 or more can actually like beat it, and there's not that many. Actually, like it's gonna take 2 hits from most characters before it dies, like that are 5 or more. And I think because the fact that in limited and even sealed, like at some point, like you play out your whole hand and you're just in top deck mode and you're just playing whenever you get it. So because of that, I think this card could be very good. And I'm just trying to think of where it shines the most, and maybe it's in an aggro deck where it's like you want to play your hand out as fast as possible and you just want to quest. And then this thing, like as soon as you play your hand out, like it can't be touched until they play a 5-drop. And even when they play a 5, it has to be big enough to kill Raja, which is like it's gonna take 2 swings, and if it swings at it once, then you'll have another character like just swing back. So I actually really like this card. So I think I'd say this card is a sleeper. I'm wondering if I should take it earlier than I would normally pick this type of card, because the stats aren't terrible either. Like 4-mana 3/4 or 4 ink 3/4 or something.
Yeah, you raise a good point. I think with that said, then this may be a card you might be thinking about after you've so in draft, right? You pull your pack. There are 12 cards in there. There's likely a bomb, and there's maybe a Raja in there as well. So you may not pick it first, but you may pick it second on the pass. And if you don't pick it, basically if you don't pick it when you see it, you're not going to see it again.
Yeah, definitely won't wheel.
So I guess that's one way to think about this card. And yeah, you're right. It does have a lot of value, especially in limited. It's a sleeper for sure. Or maybe it's not a sleeper. Maybe it's a let's go sleeper, because
Yeah, I would still go sleeper. I think we need to see it in play, and like
yeah.
because sometimes I guess you do get stuck with uninkables in your hand. So right, you want to be kind of careful about that.
Maybe card draw is stronger this chapter, or stronger than we think, and you won't get that value from this card. And if you don't, it's a 3/4, can quest for 2. That's still significant.
Yeah, true. Oh, and my Dreamborn didn't load actually, so I just want to go back and say that there's actually a lot more cards that would take it out. I was wondering, like, this.
You mean like Hercules? All the Hercules?
Yeah, all of them.
except for the 3 costs on All right, I'll be careful when we edit that.
not telling people that, like, yeah, 5 costs will take this out. In my head, I was like, I think there's some decent ones out there.
Yeah,
It's only 4 health. It's not that much, but
yeah. Because a lot of them were like 3-4, 3-5, and I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of nice. And then yeah.
okay. This is a sleeper that I must have. Philatides, 4 cost inkable card, 2/3 body, quest for 2. Your hero characters gain +1 challenger. And here's the kicker. When you play a hero character, gain 1 lore. It's like, just if you have Philatides just chilling on your board and you play a hero character, you just gain a lore immediately when you play it. It's a rare card. I would choose this over Raja.
Wow.
I think so, because I think
Okay.
I would also be looking to build a hero limited deck. Because I know there are 53 heroes in this set. But Philatides, just the passive lore for just playing a hero just sounds so good. Quest for 2, your heroes gain challenger, like I would be so fun, and I think plausible to get a decent amount of heroes this set.
Yeah. No, I definitely think you'll definitely see a lot of heroes, right? Because our magic number, right? 53 heroes out of 124, like almost 50%. I like the card, definitely. I guess I'm just trying to like play it out, right? So turn 4 you play this card, turn 5 you play hero, turn 6 you play hero. So you gain 2 lore. Turn 7, yeah, maybe you'll play another hero. That's fine.
That sounds great. That's 3 lore, man.
Yeah, that's 3 lore.
In that scenario.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of how often we hit that scenario, right? Because it's like that is a decent amount of heroes, and yeah, let's say you either play the 3 heroes, right? Because you don't want to exert it, because once it's exerted, it's probably gonna die because it's such a weak stat. Now if you had just played 1 hero turn 5 and then quested turn 5, I feel like you would get the same amount of value from this card as you would if you had waited those turns of just like playing heroes. Now in a state where you're like at a board stall and then you're playing heroes, then I think this card gets even better. Like that's when I think this card shines. But I think normally, like, I'm not a huge fan of the card. Like I think it's good, and it's definitely because it buffs up your other hero characters. So if you have a lot, maybe for that first ability, it gives them all like +1 strength. That's really good. Like that's a card I do like. But yeah, like I think it's a sleeper. Like I would pick it, but I would also like I would be a little mindful of just about like how am I gonna play this? Like how much value am I really getting?
True. And maybe it's just a sleeper, but maybe not a stud.
Yeah.
Man, how did I apply that before? Dud or stud, sleeper or stud.
I don't think it was sleeper. It was a bomber.
Bomber bait, yeah.
Bomber bait, yeah.
I wouldn't say this is a bomb. And I don't necessarily see it as a bait either. But maybe it is a bait because you may not get the heroes. So
yeah.
Then what is it really? It's a 2/3 that quests for 2. It doesn't live very long, but it's 2 lore at least.
True.
Another card that might be a sleeper. It's a 3 cost uninkable song. One last hope. Chosen character gains +2 resist until the start of their next turn. Which, that in itself isn't so great. But if your character is a hero, they may also challenge ready characters this turn. So essentially, attacking a character that's in ready position, not exerted. I think that's significant, especially since there's a lot of board stall. Again, the biggest caveat is that you're probably trying to build some sort of hero deck, and which is also kind of situational. So, what are your thoughts? Do you think just the resist 2 is enough to have this?
So I think so, because like I guess the way I think about it is does this card kill another creature? Like when I play it, like will it trade 1 for 1, right? And I guess it will because it gives your creature resist 2. So I think I like that it's almost like a removal, or like, not like a removal, but it allows you to trade well, and it keeps your creature alive for the next turn because it gives them resist +2. So at least they'll be able to swing. Like if they decide to re-challenge your hero, he gets resist +2, so he just has a higher chance of living. I think that's why I like it, and it's a song, right? So you don't have to spend ink to kind of like have your creature attack. So I think it's fine, like just like that. But I think the fact that if it was a hero and it could challenge ready, I think that's really good. Like that's where this card shines. So I would really like to play this card if I had a good amount of heroes. Then I would really like to have this card, just because being able to take out a ready creature, like that's really good.
So I'm just gonna have one follow-up question to that. Is this a card that you choose in the first pack go around with that knowledge? Like, do you pass on this on your first pack since you haven't really developed your card, and usually rare cards are gone when the first couple picks? Do you pass on it on this pack 1, or is it more of like a pack 2, pack 3 card?
Yeah, so I would pass on it pack 1, and for me it would be a pack 2, pack 3. Like I think I would want to make sure I have a good amount of hero characters in play, or even like just because it's also uninkable like that. I do try to worry about like how many uninkables I'm gonna get, and in drafting, like I feel like that can be really that's something I do try to be mindful of. So I would definitely pass on it.
Yeah, I think we tested a couple versions of that, I think, where we tried putting like 10 uninkable cards in our deck, and or I don't know if you tried 14 at one point. We definitely paid for it.
Yeah,
on some of those
exactly.
games. So yeah, that is certainly something to consider. Yeah, so yeah, maybe not pack 1, but maybe pack 2 or 3, or obviously pack 4. You'd be considering this card. So I think it's a sleeper.
Yeah, I agree.
Jack. Actually, it's Jack, right? Yeah. So it's a 3-cost inkable card. It's a 1/4 body. A quest for 2. When you play this character, chosen opposing character gains Reckless during their next turn. And just forcing your opponent to have to swing into maybe your character, maybe even a location that you just have chilling to expose them, I think is kind of annoying, especially if someone's going like an aggro style deck. And this card is a common card, so we're going to see it in play. And I think it's pretty decent. I think it's a sleeper card, especially since it quests for 2. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. Like it kind of reminds me of like it's like a weaker Lyle from the last set, which forced them to attack, and you gain like a lore and they lost lore. And I think there's a lot of cards in this set who like kind of gain value by just being in their ready state. Like I think some cards like you gain 3 lore every turn, right? You have the highest attack, or like
Flynn Rider,
yeah, Flynn Rider, or ones that just give your other characters +1 strength. Like those are the cards like people want to just keep on the board, right? Because they don't want to attack with them in case they might die. So it does like take out some of those hard, like some of those creatures that are like they're never gonna be get exerted, right? So I think that's why I like that card, and it also quests for 2, right? Any card like this, which is kind of weak stats, like quest for 2, I do like. And even on curve turn 3, playing a 1/4, you might be able to quest twice with this as well. The thing I don't like is about the whole reckless thing, right? It's like you give them reckless, right? So then they have to attack if possible. But then if they have more than one creature, then normally they're gonna attack with their stronger creatures, right? To just take out your let's say your location or challenge your character, so therefore the creature doesn't have to attack. That's the only thing. That's the bad side of the whole giving the reckless thing, is that sometimes you don't have control over it. Into like what they're, because they can give themselves options. So
True. Also, reckless characters can sing technically.
Oh yes. Oh true. Yeah, yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah, yeah. Cause someone did that to me once, and I was like, oh yeah, that's
Yeah, that was pretty sneaky. That's right.
yeah.
Sorry, but
But still,
continue.
I think because of that though, it still could be a sleeper, mainly because of those cards that just they don't want to be exerted in this set. So
It definitely takes out Pegasus, the 1/1 Pegasus. So,
true. Yeah, yeah.
and you didn't need an evasive. This could be that answer if you don't have one. So,
Yeah, yeah.
all right, Camilo Madrigal. So 4-cost inkable, 2/5 body, quest for 1. So this one's interesting because at the start of your turn, you can choose one of two things. This character either gets +1 lore or gets +2 challenger. So essentially, it can either quest for 2 or swing for 4. So it's a 4/5. And it's an uncommon card. I think we're going to see this card a lot. And I think it's pretty decent. I think if I got this in my hand, maybe it's not my ideal 4-cost, but it's with 5 willpower, that's not bad. And again, it swings for 4 and can quest for 2. That's pretty good. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, I think it's like the Helga, the last set. Maybe it's Helga was a 2/4, right? This one, gain challenger +2. This one has more willpower, so it's fine. But it gives you the utility of also just questing for more later, if you're able to like clear the board somehow. So, I think that can be. I think having the option, that's what I think makes this card very good. Is like you can choose. So I like this card. I think it trades. It taxes a 4 or 5, or it can quest for 2. I think that's very good.
Yeah, it takes out Philatides.
Yeah, that is true. Philatides.
All right, so this thing I think is a true sleeper. It's a 3-cost inkable. The name is Chifu. It's a 0/5 body, but while this character has no damage, he gets +2 lore, meaning it quests for 3. So I don't know many characters, at least at the lower end of the cost, that can swing for 5. So in my mind, this character can quest for 3 at least, and then if it survives while it's still taking damage, it quests for 1. So that's 4 questing power. And with a couple healing cards, this card can stay a bit longer than you think. I think it's a sleeper. It's uncommon, and I think people are going to see it around. What do you think?
Yeah, I also think it could be a sleeper. Like, I guess what worst case it gives you probably. I guess what true worst case it gives you like 3 lore, but I think it will be able to swing twice. You're right, because of the high willpower. So I think 4 is probably on average is what you'll get from it. And if you can heal it, then yeah, that's even better. Or I think you brought this up once before, where if you have bodyguards, right? Turn 4, like you play this turn 3, you quest for, or turn 4, you play your bodyguard, you quest this guy. Assuming they can't take out your bodyguard, then you quest again for 3. That's 6 lore. That's a lot.
Yeah, 6 lore is not something to like joke about. I'm just checking right now. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 characters with bodyguard effects. One of them is more situational, but there are at least 2 bodyguards that are 3-costing. So something to consider. If you're pulling this card and you're checking out for bodyguards, Prince Eric and Donald Duck are the 3 costs. Those are likely the ones that you'll be gearing towards, if I'm being honest. Unless you have the Hercules, the 6-cost one. That's a bomb. But
Yeah. I
maybe
guess
that's-
Goofy, turn 4.
So
Goofy-
Goofy is not a bodyguard. Goofy is a 4-cost uninkable card, 3/4 body. When you play this character, when you play a character with bodyguard, ready this character, and this character cannot quest. So it functions kind of like, yeah. So it's not a bodyguard, unfortunately, but yeah, maybe for the sphere, the card that replaces something
makes another character a bodyguard, maybe that's where it comes into play. Maybe you give this card for the sphere so that it quests itself and then protects something else. I don't know. That'd be weird to do it. It has 5 health though, so.
Or maybe maybe we're just thinking the aggro deck thing wrong, right? Like normally I would think you'd want to play more creatures, but maybe playing Fortress for your turn 1, and then by turn 4, right? At turn 3 you play this, turn 4 you play anything else. Then you allow this guy to quest for 6. Like that's a pretty strong combo.
True. Hey yo, my magic broom. I like this card a lot. It's a 2-cost inkable, 2/3 body, quest for 1. But during your turn, this character gains evasive. So it's sort of your answer to that early Pegasus. I can see this card being in everyone's deck. 2/3 body with an answer for evasive. It's not bad at all. What do you think?
Yeah, no, definitely. I like this card. I'm definitely gonna take it earlier than normal. Like it is only a 2 cost, but normally I'm very much in favor of those vanilla 2 ink 2 3s, 3 ink 3 4s. I like the style line with the high willpower, and the fact that this gives evasive and deals with some of those threats that I'm really scared about, like the Pegasus or the Diablo. This is definitely a card I'm gonna pick pretty highly.
Yeah, it's crazy that this is just a common card. Like 2/3 stat line. How is this a common card? I would expect this to be at least uncommon. But happy to hear that it's around. Probably really is the answer for those Pegasus, the 1-cost ones. So everyone should be on the lookout. I'd be surprised to see this come around late in the draft. Definitely pick it up if you can. Okay. All right, this card is not a sleeper, I think. This is actually probably a bait, but I wanted to mention it. Shout out to Bruno Madrigal. It's a 4-cost inkable, 3/3. Has evasive, but its ability, when you exert it, name a card, then reveal the top card of your deck. If it's the name of the card, put that card into your hand and gain 3 lore. Otherwise, just put it back on your deck. And so, the idea of guessing what card you might have to maybe just automatically gain 3 lore sounds awesome. But there's only one card in the deck that allows you to scry and sort of order your cards, and that's Pascal, the 3-cost inkable 3/3 body that quests for 1. So I think this card is probably a bait, but it is 3/3 body with evasive, so not so bad. But yeah, I don't know. It might just be like a really fun thing to have during Limited. I don't think I'd be sad playing it because I think it actually would be fun. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, just because I think the stats are good. It's an evasive creature, so I probably wouldn't be doing the exert name a card thing most of the time. It'd probably just be questing. But I guess you never know, right? Like some games, I guess, could go very long. And I know we did have some games where I think one of our friends, Gary, managed to, out of 30 something cards, he managed to call a card out and he got it right. So could just Yu-Gi-Oh it, And
yeah, believe in the heart of the cards. You never know.
Exactly, yeah. And it would be a great combo with Pascal, right? At least you can hit 3.
Yep, you just need all the stars to align. So, but if anyone could do it, it's definitely Bruno. So.
Yeah.
So we have Double Duck. It's a 3-cost inkable bodyguard, 2/3 body, quests for 1. When you play this character, chosen character gets +1 lore this turn. I think this is a great card. It's uncommon. Could be potentially just inching your way to victory with this card. It's really great for an aggro deck. But yeah, I just think it's a solid card. Wouldn't be sad to have it on the 3 slot. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I think Bodyguard is definitely very, very good. And just because we've seen the other sleeper, the 0/5. And I think I'm trying to think if there's any other creatures that I would want to have the Bodyguard for. that like can quest early, you know, like a little bit of aggressive creature and a 2-drop swap, but can't see any right now. But I feel like just having a bodyguard like him it's good, right?
Now, I will say, in comparison, because this may happen to you guys out there, we're in the middle of draft. This isn't going to be like a topic for other people. But if you had the choice between this 3-cost bodyguard Donald Duck, it's a 2/3 stat line, or a 3-cost Prince Eric 3/3 stat line, what would you choose? Because Donald Duck at least gives you the potential to, you know, go a little more aggro, but doesn't really like trade as well as the Prince Eric. Like, which one would you choose?
A very good point. I think I would pick Prince Eric. I think having the extra attack is better for me most of the time. Cause yeah, I guess the way I see Donald Duck is like when you play him, you will get that additional lore, right? So it's kind of like this is the card that comes in and gives you at least one more lore. Prince Eric, when he comes in, you know, your other character will still quest, right? So you don't get that additional lore, but you do get a little bit more attack, which I like. But I guess normally like Donald Duck, like to a 3/4, right? They'll both, or I guess Prince Eric would trade with a 3/4 or 4/3. Yeah, no, I think I just like the more aggressive stat line for Prince Eric. I think maybe if I was really aggro, then maybe Donald Duck. And I think that's also something very important to think about your decks when you're playing sealed or draft. It's like, what is my deck trying to do? Am I trying to win early? Like, did I get any bombs? Like, if I'm playing best of 3, is the other person like, do they have a lot of bomby cards and stuff? Like, you know, so like, or like, I guess you probably wouldn't know about best of 3, but like, kind of like when you're drafting and you're picking your cards, like, what is the deck trying to do? If I was playing a very aggro deck and I had a lot of aggro cards, then maybe I would take Donald Duck. But most of the time, I think I'm gonna take Prince Eric.
Cool. Yeah, no, very good point. Understanding what your deck is trying to do is really important. But yeah, the stat line does stand out. You know, if you're not going to aggro, it could be worth having that just additional strength to just hit that break point and take out maybe a character that's challenging you and challenging your bodyguard, where Donald couldn't. So, is Gaston a sleeper? It's a 3-cost uninkable, super rare, 2/4 body, quest for 1. You can exert it. You pay 2 less for the next character you play this turn. I don't know if this card is as worth it in my mind, because it is uninkable, but a 2/4 stat line isn't terrible. Play it on curve, and then that means turn 4 you're playing a 6-cost character. Most decks don't really have that many 6-cost cards though, right? So would you get the same value by playing a cheaper card that isn't 6? I don't know. I think it would probably have most value with summoning something up on curve. Otherwise, if you top deck this card, does it have much value? I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think so. Goofy in the last set, right, is like the closest thing to this card, and that card turned out to be, I think, a little bit better than I expected. I think what I like about this card though is that a 3 ink or a 3-cost 2/4 isn't the worst stats. So I feel like turn 4, I think I would be able to at least like tap this, pay 2 less, maybe play 2 cards in that turn. Let's say like I can't play the 6, right? Because obviously if you can play the 6, like this card's amazing. But even if I could play 2 spells turn 4, then I feel like this card would still live. Like it would have at least another turn to kind of exert itself and gave you 2 more ink, which would be a total of 4. And that might be good enough for me. Like for me to like this card and to consider a sleeper. I feel like it's a card I would play. It is unfortunate it's uninkable though, but like there's a lot of 6 drop cards you would want to play, and there's some 7s. So, even if you waited like another turn for turn 5, um, you know, like, you can do that. Also, like turn 5, like let's say you do top deck this thing, it's not a terrible body, right? Where Pluto was just like, it was like a 0-1 or 0-2. This one can at least kind of hit back. And sometimes when you do top deck, like, you kind of have like 5 ink on the board, and just being able to play this card, then waiting for your 6 or 7s, and not having to spend 2 turns waiting to draw another card to ink it so you can play your 6 or 7 drop. Like, I do like this card, and I think it is a sleeper. I think it will see some good amount of play in this set.
Cool. And just for the record, we were referring to Pluto, the 1-cost uninkable of set 3. I think you might have said Goofy earlier, and I was like, when did I correct him?
Yeah.
But you said Pluto later. I was like, okay, yep, we are talking about the Pluto 1-cost uninkable from Chapter 3. And it was a card that found value, even though it was only reducing the cost by 1. It was a bit of a sleeper. It didn't win all games, and some people played it kind of off, I saw in certain cases, but when that card lived and you can get out more cards out on the board, that was pretty devastating. So if this card lives to get more than one character out, this card has paid for itself. So Okay, I think this card may be like a must grab sleeper. That's just my opinion, but it's the River Guardian Nessus. It's a 6-cost inkable card, 7/5 body, quest for 2. I think it would be hard to pass this card up just based on the stats alone. It's uncommons. What do you think?
Yeah, so I mean, I definitely agree. Like, this is a card I would take early, and I feel like, I'm definitely gonna play up to 6, like in draft and in sealed. So, like, this is a card I definitely want, and a card I would pick early. Yeah, maybe even close to bomb status. Like, it's not a bomb, but it's definitely up there. Like, it's gonna be like within the first 3 picks. I'm gonna take this card.
Yeah, how do you pass up on this? Think of Billy Bones. That was like a 6/5 quest for 1. Like, this card is scary.
Yeah.
And so if you had the choice between this card or the Hercules, that's the 6-cost inkable 6/5 bodyguard with resist +1, quest for 2. I think Hercules still wins, but man, this is like yeah, Hercules just wins just by a little bit, just like in the movie. So actually he won by a lot, but
True. What about the Mulan?
the Mulan. Ooh. Mulan Legendary? Oh my goodness, I could see passing up for this card. That's crazy when you say it out loud.
Yeah, and like we've seen so many cards that kind of kill Mulan too, which is that's the only reason I'm like, I don't know how I feel about Mulan so much.
Yeah, but you know what kills this card? The 5-cost uninkable Minnie Mouse.
Yeah, that's true.
The card that we think is a bait, but could be the sleeper. The sleeper we never thought of.
Exactly.
So, but yeah, this card, you're gonna see it. You're gonna be scared of it. You might want to pick it up before someone else does. Oof, here it is. I know I mentioned this character before, but I just want to give a good shout out. 4-cost inkable Mulan, armored fighter, 3/6 body. It's quests for 1. It's uncommon. I don't even know if this is considered vanilla, but it's the vanilla of this chapter. But man, I want this card in my 4-cost slot. It's so good. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. There's not much else to say. I agree. Like, this is the card I definitely want over most 4-cost too.
Yeah, it's crazy to say out loud, but like, just 6 willpower is just so much. There's so much willpower. Kudos, Mulan. And 3 strength is nothing to like bat an eye against. It could still swing. It still take hits, but man, 3/6. I would not want to like. Would I really be shifting this this Mulan? Well, I guess maybe because that's a 2/6 stat line and it has an interesting. I could like clear a board, but still, this is
True, yeah.
this is a great vanilla card. I'd be surprised if this card isn't chosen. Well, I guess you go through your bombs first. Like, but for its cost, it's in my mind, it's right in line with the River Guardian. It's a card that it's hard to pass up.
This Mulan versus Raja, the 3/4 that when you have no cards in your hand, characters cost 4 less can't challenge this character.
This Mulan is just safer.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a safer pick.
I agree.
Sure, you couldn't swing at your opponent who has the Raja if they have 0 cards, but
True. It definitely is a safer pick. What about?
Raja can't take this out. Raja would have to swing at this twice too. So
True. You're right.
sorry, what were you saying?
Tong. It is a 4 uninkable, 3/6 with Reckless.
You know, it's funny. I didn't put that one on the list because I think that's not a card I would want.
Yeah. Okay.
No, because when you think about it, it's an uninkable card. It's Mulan, uninkable and reckless. Doesn't quest for anything. It's basically my comparison for the last set was Flotsam, the 5/2 stat line with the Maui with reckless. Except that Maui had value when you had the Maui hook. And maybe the Hey that could quest to give Maui the ability to quest rather than swing at something. So
Okay.
I think Mulan still wins compared to Tong, which has the same stat lines but is just reckless, uninkable, and can't quest. So
Yeah.
now, if I didn't have Mulan, and just like a caveat here, if I didn't have that many good uninkables, would I consider putting Tong in there? Maybe, but Mulan wins.
Gotcha. Yeah, true. I guess the inkable thing, I guess, is also very important. I guess I was thinking more of Tong as like the 5/5 broom that came in and had Reckless, or not. Yeah, because they would normally take something out, it would live for another fight, and I guess that's kind of how I like. If I'm playing Mulan, I feel like I'm gonna want to attack with it most of the time.
Well, I'm gonna pause you there before we get too far. The 5/5 stat line that I think you're referencing, the broom from last set, right?
Yeah, from last.
I think it was uninkable. It had Rush, and Rush and Reckless are 2 different things.
Oh, Rush. Oh, true.
Tong has Reckless.
Oh, I thought Tong had Rush.
Nah, that's
You're right. Never mind. I don't like that anymore.
right. If Mulan had Rush, then yeah, that other card will win, but not in this scenario. It has Reckless, it can't swing when it's played, it's uninkable, it can't quest.
Okay. I was thinking of the Rush because I was like, okay, it kind of attacks the turn it comes in, which is good, and I want to be attacking, so okay. Yeah, you're right then. Mulan, 100%.
Cool. Another sleeper, TikTok. It's a 6 cost slot. I think what's special about it is that it's evasive and has a 4/7 body. It's common. We're gonna see the card. I wouldn't be sad at picking this up. I don't know if I'd choose it over the River Guardian, but oh, that's tough. This or River Guardian. River Guardian couldn't swing at this, even though it could kill it if it does. But yeah, I think this is not a card to pass up and think you're not gonna regret it fighting it. So, because think of like what evasive answers do we really have for this? You can't brawl it out. You can't like Minnie Mouse it unless you add support to the opponent. It's evasive 7 health. Ugh, it's kind of a pain.
Yeah, this thing, there's no card that can kill it in one swing that has evasive.
Maybe it's like the Imperial Bow with Hercules. That's like
this is going to be an annoying card, and it's a common. I'm just calling it out. People are going to see this card. It's going to be super annoying, even though it's vanilla. But evasive with that much health is a problem.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it could just like take out things without being challenged. Like it's gonna take out at least 2, maybe 3 things. So
Absolutely. Lumiere. 2-cost inkable, 2/2. Your other character gets +1 attack, quest for 1. Rare card. I think this is a good card. I don't know if I choose it immediately because there are a lot of other bombs, but I think it's a good card.
yeah, no, I agree. I really like this card. Yeah, definitely not over bombs, but over most cards. I feel like I would probably take this too.
And the 2-cost slot line, it's not bad.
Yeah. It allows your 1s to trade up, and your other 2s to trade up. So.
It might even help you in the Snuggly Duckling, you know? You never know.
True. Synergy.
All right. I did want to give a shout out to Max. 3-cost inkable, 4/3 body. If you have a character named Prince Eric in play, you pay 1 less to play this character. Now, the cheapest Prince Eric in this chapter is the 3-cost bodyguard, I believe. But paying 1 less is kind of nice when you think about it. So I guess that'd be turn 4, leaving 2 additional ink available. But it's a 4/3 body. It gets swing and take out those 4 bodies, those annoying 4 health characters. It's not that bad. So I think we'll see it in play. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think it's like the queen of the last set with the potential of playing it for less. And I think 4 is definitely like a very like well-defining stat line. So the fact that it can take out a lot of the 4s, like 4 willpower creatures, I think that I like this card. Yeah.
All right, so we have Pluto. It's a 5-cost inkable, 4/5 body, quest for 2. And when you play this card, it moves 3 damage from chosen character. And it's a common card. I think this card will have value. It's decent stat line. Quest for 2 and keep something else alive. It may not be Isabella, but it is a nice card for that 5-cost slot. What do you think?
Yeah, no, 100% agree. Like I love the sets. It's great. And yeah, if you're able to get the trigger the ability, like that's awesome. That makes it even better. But even if not, like I'm fine with a 5 ink 4/5. So, yeah, I like this card.
All right, so in conclusion, our pre-release initial impressions. This episode is wrapping up. I think that this is the first chapter that has made me feel like these cards have a lot of synergy potential. Like there's 53 hero cards, and there are 6 like additional adjacent cards that kind of synergize with heroes like Philatides. I'd even talk about the Ana cards, which adds like lore to hero characters. The support mechanic has always been there in previous sets, but the fact that there are characters that have more willpower makes me feel like support may play a larger role. And maybe those sort of niche tech situations where you're adding attack power to banish a character with mini mouse, maybe that'll happen. I don't know. It does seem very niche, but it could happen. Who knows? There are 14 evasive cards. There are 18 item cards. We have some crucial item removal this chapter and some crazy items when you think about it. There's a lot of rush characters. There's the sing together mechanic, and there are cards that sort of, are tailored to heal other cards or bring cards from the grave. We're going to see some cards recycle, and sort of the endurance and longevity of certain characters I think are going to show this set. So those are sort of my last concluding thoughts for this chapter. Anthony, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think like I do really like that there's a lot of the synergies. I think being mindful of the evasive is even more important in this set. So I think kind of like how we touched about the, seeing a 1-drop Pegasus. So getting that 2/3 that can like take it out or take out the other, I forget the other one that's like a 2/2. That one is exerted and your opponent draws a card, you draw a card. Taking out those cards are very important. So
Diablo Legendary. That one's gonna be crazy.
yes, yeah. I feel like those 2 cards can kind of run away with the game, as well as the Isabella, But I think everyone knows that. So yeah, like I think those are my definitely the big things I'm going to be looking out for the evasive, and definitely knowing these stats I think is very important because like when you're drafting, like knowing how many evasive cards there are and like how many hero synergies there are. So when you take a card that says hero, know that there's like a 40% chance of getting a hero, right? Or at least like there's 53 characters out of the 120. I think that's important.
Yeah, definitely. And so yeah, the chapter releases this week. Very exciting stuff. Very excited to see how that goes. And we just wanted to say thank you everyone for taking the time to check us out, listen to the first official episode, right? Where we're actually talking about the cards pre-release. Again, we hope to follow up maybe a week or two later to see what our initial thoughts were and how they've evolved over time. Very excited to work on that. And in addition to maybe some gameplay and sort of a full card analysis after playing a couple games, that's always a lot of fun. Maybe a tier list. We'll see. And, you guys can follow us on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Please like and subscribe so we can continue to bring you more limited content, and hit that bell icon so you're notified when new videos are out.
Yeah, and I guess good luck everyone on the sealed and drafts this weekend. Or whenever you're listening to this, I guess. Good luck on future sealed and drafts, and hopefully these impressions of these cards will help you either draft better or choose some sealed cards that maybe normally you would not have picked.
Yeah, let us know which cards you think were bombs, which ones were baits, which ones were duds, and which ones were studs. Just let us know. And if there are any sleeper cards that you found while playing. So until the next time, this has been Jake.
And Anthony.
Keep it unlimited.